everybody. Welcome, Justice Warriors. Appreciate you being here today. We've got several things we're going to be going through here just because we have a lot of unbelievable misinformation that is out there. And we want to clarify some things and talk about some things and, really go things through everything with everybody. So we appreciate you being here. I do have Miss Paige joining me. Hello,
Hi,
Miss Paige.
everyone. Hello. Hi.
Thank you for being here. As you all know, Paige is 5 hours ahead of Eastern time. So we appreciate her being on here late her time and
It's
being
always
with
a
us to
pleasure.
kind of going over all of this and dealing with our frustration of everything, especially during the anniversaries of Abby and Libby, and hearing stuff that it just floats around and is just incorrect, that is so harmful to the case and to the families and to the overall investigation. It's terrible.
In the UK, we call it like a Chinese whisper, where it's actually a game that we play as children, where, the first person comes up, with a sentence, and you have to whisper it to the next person, to the next person, to the next person. And eventually the statement is completely different to what was originally said. And that's what happens here. Like, people just spread something, they change a bit of information, and so on until it's completely opposite to the facts.
Yeah, we call that telephone. We call that the telephone game over here. And, you have the same thing. You go and sit in a circle, spread it to your neighbor, and then you check what ends up coming all the way back around. And
that's exactly it.
And you're like, that was nothing that was said. No. It doesn't even sound right. But so we're going to talk about the Richard Allen evidence that is wanted to be suppressed by the defense team. Obviously, the one and only bit of information that they're going to share with you, just like any defense team, is only going to share something that they know is revealed to everybody. They're not going to tell you of any evidence that is discovered at the time.
Or later.
And I want to say hello to Lynn, because she commented in the chat. The other thing we want to talk about, are the items that were all collected on October 13th of 2022 during the search warrant based on the probable cause. And, I think one of the first things that we kind of want to address is the information about people out there who are suspects, and they're looked back. And I feel like we're kind of also stuck in that Ron Logan situation, right? So everybody remembers that the Ron Logan's property was obviously searched. They asked for permission on the 14th, the morning of the 14th, to go on his property and to search his property. And then we had where he did lie to cover up because he was on probation. He was not supposed to be driving places and from DUIs. And we had the search warrant, though, and the probable cause affidavit that was released for that search warrant, that was technically the second search warrant,
Yeah.
for him. But, you know, we have had tons of people that, you know, there was over 20,000
Mm.
tips that came into federal, state, and local authorities in the
Yeah.
hotline. There was some very early on. Within days, there was already 7,800 tips that were called
Yeah.
into the hotline that was established.
So
And
imagine the names we actually never heard
oh,
that they looked
absolutely.
into. Hmm.
Absolutely. And they had many people who were turned in. And as we know, they divided up the tips to be gone through between the federal, the state, and the local authorities.
Hmm.
And we know what people and stuff that they had. Now we know Ron Logan. We remember Daniel Nations. He was the Colorado guy. He came out, he was from Indiana. He's in Colorado. He's busted in a park with a, uh,
Machete.
yeah, trying to get, you know, kids kill somebody and
Big,
stuff out
big
there.
people. Yeah,
He had
definitely.
a background of, um, uh, I'm trying to think of what his crime would technically be called, but he had stuff of child molestation in his background,
Yeah.
you know, and then we've got, you know, Paul Eder, who was the person from Indiana, and he left and he was uh, killed inside a religious business, a religious store, and had raped and killed this woman and stuff there, and he was looked into. Um, you know, we got you know, Thomas Bruce,
Yeah.
um, you know,
Similar type of
let me, and
background
nobody can
again.
be worse in my mind. Nobody can be worse than Chadwell.
Oh, I know. Out of the things we know about, I mean, these people have done some horrible things, which is probably why they were all looked into to begin with. But what we know about Chadwell, because I think it's because we all saw it unfolding in real time as well. I mean, a lot of people probably didn't see a lot of the beginning POIs and suspects. They weren't involved in the case or looking at the case while it was happening in real time and while they were being looked at. But when Chadwell happened, I still remember it so distinctively. Like, I feel like it was only like yesterday that happened and not how long ago it was, because it's still so burned into my memory as to what he actually did and what could have happened to that child.
Right.
It's just
And for
terrifying.
anybody who, you know, if you weren't around for the case during that time, I mean, Chadwell was from the Lafayette area. He had a little girl who came and knocked on his door,
A neighbor.
and
Hmm.
she ended up missing. And you know, the police had went to his house, and he kind of at first was like, "Hey, you know, she was here, but you know, but she left." So he kind of said that, and the police thought that he acted strange at the time, and
Yeah.
they end up going back to his house again, and they asked to search his house. And when they go to search in his basement, he has it
Hmm.
um,
A locked
locked
door.
up. And they go and they ask him to open that up, and the little girl is inside there, uh, nude,
She's bound.
yep, bound, bit by his
He's
dog,
been, yeah, attacked by his dog and
and
other
sexually assaulted. Yep.
yeah. So
And
you've got to ask yourself, if they didn't go back, what the hell would have happened there? Like,
right,
that is
exactly.
so
And
scary.
and so, you know, he came on the radar obviously for that particular reason. Also because remember, people swore up and down that he had a tattoo that
Yeah,
they swore was Libby,
they resembled her, yes.
which was
Hmm.
it was a girl crying. that was tattooed on his chest.
But we still don't, like, everything I looked into in regards to that, we still don't have a conclusive thing or evidence telling us that, you know, that was even done after the murders. Like, we still
Right,
don't know the date that tattoo was done, so we can't make an assumption about that. But I
right.
will say, you know, it does definitely look similar. It's very creepy.
Oh, absolutely.
Very,
You
very
know,
creepy.
and then we had Garrett Kurtz, who was connected only because he knew Ron Logan,
Yes.
and that Garrett Kurtz was already an accused murderer. I think he was, well, he, at the very beginning, he was accused, then he was convicted of
Yeah.
one murder of a girl. Um, and, um, and then he was charged and he was suspected of a murder of a man
Hmm.
earlier, prior to that murder. And
Yeah.
then he was, then charged and convicted of the murder of the man as well.
Hmm.
But he was familiar with that area. He did
Yeah.
drugs. He knew Ron Logan, and
Yeah.
that was another person.
He frequented his property a lot. So, you know, people obviously like to point that out. Like, he is somebody that would have been very familiar with the crime scene, with the area. And I don't think people like to imagine that there would be more than one murderer, you know, in an area at the same time. But unfortunately, as we can see here, these types of people were in the same locations doing the same sort of disgusting acts. Um,
Right.
so it's very possible.
And then we have the infamous, currently kept being brought up,
Yes.
uh, Brad Holder,
Yeah.
whose son knew Abby, who is
Mhm.
said, it's said that they were
Yeah.
dating as much as a 13-year-old can date, as you can imagine,
Yeah.
um, or said they were boyfriend and girlfriend. But so, you know, Brad Holder is the one being pushed out there because of the Odinism theory and the,
The defense's theory.
you know, that keeps just pressing on and on and on.
Yeah, and also we obviously don't have anything from law enforcement saying that he's ever been a POI or a suspect. However, you know, it is plausible to think that he could have been someone else who possibly was looked at in the beginning, but then they later moved on, as they did with obviously several of these.
And honestly, and not all of these people, not several of these people were looked into as possible point of interest that the law enforcement spoke of.
Hmm.
However, you know, a couple of these were just brought up, and there, trust me,
Yeah.
there's more. I mean, we had, you know, Lesenby himself, who was
Yes.
listed as, that people turned him in as he
He
looked like
he
bridge guy.
he said so
And
himself that they looked at him, you know?
and everybody in the world was compared to the BG guy pictures, the sketches, millions of times over and over again.
Yeah.
As like, again, as we say, over 20,000 tips came in, and they had to go through all of these tips. And as they go through those tips, whether it's, uh, you know, again, it was the FBI, it was the Indiana State Police, it was the Carroll County officers, who all would go through these leads that were coming in. And obviously, if they got multiple and multiple call ins about people in particular, they would look into those people. And what do they do? Just like any true crime investigation that you know of, they're going to
Scan the
look into
computer.
those people. They're
Yeah.
going to question those people. They're going to find out if those people have an alibi or not.
Yeah.
And and then they're going to check if the alibi checks out.
Yeah.
And then if you don't have that any further, then you have where they're going to search
Yeah, they have
more.
probable cause there to look more. You know, if they don't find anything to kind of exclude that person, then they do have to look further into it.
So, as we're going to go through all of this info, there's something I did want to bring up and share here. And this is, again, we're trying to go through and help from questions that we see and hear people talk about. So I'm going to share this one to kind of answer some questions. So in the information that people have been sharing out, one of the things that keeps commonly being questioned is about the bullet, and not necessarily about the bullet, but when the bullet was found, and that there were some saying that the bullet wasn't found by the time they were sitting here searching for in Ron Logan's probable cause.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about, well, they didn't know about the bullet
Because it's not written in there.
because it's not listed. So
yeah.
So they weren't looking for guns or anything. So I wanted to share this bit of information with everybody here. So in the electronic devices and storage media, this is from the Sun, that were also sought after by the FBI, according to the warrant obtained by Fox 59, Logan's home, outbuildings, and vehicles will be searched by the ages for anything in connection to the girls' murders, including forensic evidence, hair, bodily fluids, and weapons. Other details were provided by the warrant that wasn't originally revealed to the public. So that piece is in the Sun in regards to when we all finally got to see what that probable cause affidavit was asking, specifically looking for.
And
However,
this was on March the 6th of 2017. Is that correct? I believe.
The first one. There's two searches.
This is the first one, which was on the 6th of March.
So when the police first asked to search Ron Logan's property and they find the bodies of the girls on that day, and they're asking for proof of stuff of where he is, and they do find out that he is lying, and they say that he's lying because of he was on probation, DUI, not supposed to be driving, not supposed to be out doing this stuff. So then after that happened, he was found to be, once they found out the truth, he was found to be in violation of his probation.
Yeah,
so
because he had those guns.
So in the first search warrant, because they could have the first search warrant, it was based on his probation violation. And in that it says, according to the warrant, Logan is also in possession of multiple weapons, including handguns and knives. Authorities already knew of the weapons because of a search conducted at his home as part of the probation violation. So they already knew about his guns because he wasn't supposed to even have them. His probation violation, he should have not had these weapons. That's why they went and they had these from him.
So yeah, they already know about the bullet, obviously, but just because they didn't write it in that PCA does not mean that it's not evidence that was discovered. They're not going to write every piece of evidence in it. That's not what they're doing. You know, they don't need to do that.
Yes. Let me see. Hold on. It was also said that they went back for the sticks.
So do
we believe the same person?
That's a statement made by Barbara McDonald, if I'm not mistaken. I believe she's the one who stated the sticks actually weren't recovered until a couple of days later. But again,
here's okay. I'm trying to be politically correct here. Here's the thing. We have that the FBI, I don't need that one yet. We have that the FBI, the Indiana State Police, and local police are there at the crime scene. There is no way to sit here and to tell me that you or anybody can believe that the FBI, the Indiana State Police, picked up sticks that would have been touched by the murderer that were on the girls, which, by the way, we know that those were altered in the images that were released to people.
Yes.
We know that the defense altered where the sticks were to be viewed on the girls.
Yeah.
They were not as described. And that is not where the sticks actually were. But let me go back to my original statement. The FBI and the Indiana State Police, just like any true crime people believe, when they take anything off of a body whatsoever, which we know they do not remove the bodies right away from any crime scene. They have to be left there. That's why there was a delay of identification. That's why there was a delay of what the autopsy was going to say. Yeah. That was why all that delay is going to be there, because they have to leave them on scene.
Yeah, there's so much forensically that needs to take place at the scene, and the bodies can't be moved or touched in any way. Nothing can be moved because, certain things need to be taken and recorded and that kind of thing first.
And I'm because this also just made me remember this to make a statement about this. Here's the other thing. Everybody also has to remember a couple of things. When the search was being held and people are looking, the officers, the DNR officers, and all of them were directing where they wanted everybody searching. And they were not searching yet on that north side of the bridge. They were not searching yet or going into Ron Logan's property in that area.
No.
They were searching downstream. They're searching south. They're searching away, going back towards the west. So while they're searching all of that, remember, it's already going to be starting to get dark because they didn't even get the police and stuff out there. But they had to go to the police station to make the report, which they made them do. They come back out there, and then it's sitting here at 5:30 in February, for God's sakes, which it's going to start to get dark. Who are they looking for, and what are they looking for? Remember, they're not looking on the ground for bodies.
No, they're looking
for two lost girls. They're not shoveling through all the leaves and tree branches and stuff that fall in the winter here all over the place, that when you go to any woods and everything like that, I know if you guys go out to parks and stuff like that, really dense park areas, you've got leaves and branches and stuff everywhere on the ground. They're not searching
leaves on the ground.
Exactly. They're not searching through that. They're not looking on the ground. They're calling out. They're yelling out for the two girls. They think the two girls are lost or injured if they're there. Remember, because then it was kind of like, oh, well, the girls probably walked off to a friend's house, or the girls probably went over here.
Because at that point, they had literally had seen no sign of them. They hadn't seen any of their items, nothing belonging to them, nothing at all that says that they could possibly even still be in the area. But obviously, everyone kept searching, even though the search was technically called off. So many people still searched, but again, only on a certain side. You know, it wasn't the other side. They didn't approach that crime scene until a shoe was located, and then they later discovered the bodies on the other side.
Yep.
Hmm.
So when they're looking and going for the girls and yelling out for the girls and still looking for them, they're screaming their names, they're looking around, you're looking at the park. And think about that anywhere. I mean, just I don't need to make it even scarier, but think about if you lose your kid at the mall, right? What do?
Hmm.
You think your kid's lost somewhere in there or took off with
Yeah.
friends, so you're screaming out, you're yelling out for them. It's getting darker. They're probably using, I'm sure the people who are searching are using their flashlights and or cell phones to be looking for the girls. Okay? They're looking for live girls. They're not looking on the ground to see bodies. They
No,
don't
and
think the girls are dead. And remember, the police are like, oh, okay, well, we're going to end the search because honestly, they were assuming they thought the girls took off somewhere. They went somewhere.
not that that is a good assumption to make, and they shouldn't have made that assumption, in my opinion, but they did. But again, they didn't find anything at the time when that search was called off.
Exactly. Exactly. And here's the thing. I'm not going to speak ill will towards any creator or anybody out there whatsoever. If they have evidence and they show you the evidence and they can prove it to you, that's
Yes.
one thing. That's why and ask ask Paige, ask Lumberber, ask anybody. That is why anytime I come out and say anything to you guys, I'm sitting here always showing where the source is, the copy of the news story, the
Yeah.
document I'm getting it from,
Hmm.
where I heard it from, where I saw it from,
And
or if
even
anything.
in even in our private conversations, JSD, if I say to you, "Oh, I saw somebody, posted about this in regards to Delphi today," like it could have been something I've saw, immediately her first response is, even if I've got evidence and I haven't shared it yet, her first response is, "Okay, where did you hear that from? Where did you get that information?" Like she needs to know if there is a source, because if there isn't, it's just speculation and rumor until that's how it should be viewed by everybody.
And I think the other thing to remember and maybe take into consideration that there's some people that the narrative has to go a certain direction for them
Yes.
if they're making money off of if it goes a certain direction. So I have been shocked to hear. I mean, and I'm so serious. There's a couple um channels and a couple like I want to say that'll be too direct. There's a couple channels and some people who I have been shocked that that I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they're out there sharing
Yes.
information to people that they don't have proof on."
Yeah, I'll be honest. I viewed a couple of those channels myself, obviously for research.
Me too, Lynn.
If somebody's talking about Delphi and they claim to know something, I obviously I want to know what they know and where they got it from. And there's so many channels who have Delphi content that I have viewed, and not one time do they ever show you something that is factual evidence. You know, they show you bits and pieces of things, and then they come up with their own speculation on what that means.
And
Um,
what's scary about it is that, you know, here's the thing. I understand people want a defense team, and if you're in trouble, you want a good defense team that is going to fight and show that you didn't do something, show proof that you didn't,
yeah,
you
to
know,
defend you, obviously.
create whatever probable cause, whatever. The
Hmm.
problem is that, I'm sorry, I don't have respect for a defense team that plays dirty tricks. And I am sure we will learn more on March 18th when the contempt hearing happens about maybe some more details of the Indiana State Police's investigation into it. But here's what's scary. It's like the narrative for the defense keeps rolling out. It's still flowing through, and
Hmm.
people are ignoring that we do have the list of of items and things taken and why they were taken from Richard Allen's um, home, his vehicle, and that, which we're going to go through that and revisit that, because there's evidence that people are saying wasn't collected, did get collected, didn't, doesn't mean anything. And
Yeah.
remember, this is not the only time and the only case. A triple murder case, Baldwin has got thrown out because he went back and said that the police really didn't have probable cause. And these people, they lost evidence of this search warrant because he wanted to prove that. Okay. And maybe in that circumstance, maybe they didn't have probable cause for that. Okay.
Yeah.
But
We don't know the circumstances of that, but it's very interesting how it seems to be the same sort of tactic in this one.
right, because he represents a lot of murderers. There's a lot of murder cases. I know of 4. Um and the one that was the triple murder was the biggest news that we had heard about, that he got that thrown out. So this person of this triple murder suddenly was no not going to be charged. But when you have somebody who is repeatedly playing the tricks, and we find out more and more and more based on the contempt charges of what was said here. We're not going to go public. We don't want that to go public. Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about doing this because we're not going to do this. And then they go write a press release. I mean, the first thing they did that we saw
Yeah.
locally on the news was, oh, here they are. Well, there's not enough evidence. They don't have anything, blah, 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 all this stuff that they go on
Yeah.
about
You
and
have
write
to
this
remember,
information.
you
And
have
they
to
originally
remember,
asked people, if you know of other suspects or have other theories, contact us. I mean, that's the first damn thing they did.
yeah, and you have to realize as well that law enforcement stated that this kind of leak that came from the defense, wasn't just like a one-time occurrence. It was from the moment that they told the judge that they didn't need a gag order in place. From that moment, it was an ongoing leak of information in this case that was done from the defense. They
Mhm.
violated the gag order in many, many ways, many times.
Now, and so when you see all of that, you've got to realize that there are people. If you write a, okay, I'll just give a hypothetical. I'll do it this way. If I'm going to write a book
Mhm.
and my theory is, you know, Professor Plum did it, then I'm going to only give you evidence that talks about Professor Plum. Here's what I don't understand. How do you know someone's innocent if you don't know what all the evidence is that the prosecutor has?
Yes, because people also like to make a point at that, JSD, and they claim that if there was any more evidence, the defense would have said so. But why would they? Why would they do that? They wouldn't tell anyone anything that is going to make you think Richard Allen is guilty. They're trying to do the opposite.
Right.
And
And
people are starting
and
to understand
honestly,
that.
I mean, and I've said this before, if they wanted to turn around and make another theory of it, because remember,
An
they
easy
don't
one.
have to they don't have to give another technically another theory of who did it, right? Who done it. They don't
No.
have to say somebody else did, right? But if you turn around and think about it, of all those suspects we talked about, and and there's tons more. I'm sure there's tons more
Why?
in
Yeah.
2017. Why are you choosing the Odinist and white supremacist
Hmm.
people of the
Yeah.
case?
And think about it.
Why aren't you choosing Keegan Klein? He was Anthony Schatz connected. Anthony Schatz was the last person to talk to Liberty on that day of her death, on the night before her of the death, on the
Yeah.
starting that Friday of her death. Why would you not bring him up?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you not accuse Ron Logan? Ron Logan's dead, but it was on his property. Now, the
Yeah.
people who think it's Ron Logan, for God's sakes, how stupid is Ron Logan to put the bodies on his own freaking property? Does that make
And
any goddamn sense?
also, like, it has to be made a point that Ron Logan was never arrested or charged in relation to the Delphi murders in any way, ever. So it's like, yes, there was a search warrant for his property. He did get searched twice. The bodies were found on his property. He did obviously lie and do some shady things that day, which violated
Can
his
you go into the
probation.
Ron Logan info too, real quick?
Yeah, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to say?
Stuff about the probable cause.
Oh, right, yeah. So there's a lot about the probable cause, really. And I want to point out though, like, I listened to the murder sheet as well in relation to that, as well as reading it. Um, but we know that from that probable cause, it does state that that first search warrant was on March the 6th, 2017. And it was searched because of that possible probation violation, because firearms were discovered at that point and he was not supposed to be in possession of them. But also it's very interesting to see what they wanted to look for, in his property. They list in the probable cause evidence that they need to find and collect, and they do state weapons, including guns and cutting instruments, which is interesting wording. But also electronic devices. But another thing they state here is like animal hair samples. There's so many things in this probable cause that kind of make you wonder about what evidence actually was discovered, but it's not put in here. Like, we don't have the evidence information because they're not going to state that in the probable cause, and that's why we don't obviously have any information about an unspent round. But again, they were looking for guns and like sharp weapons. But Murder Sheet made a really good point, as to the FBI officer that did write this probable cause, that this is simply written to convince a judge to allow them to search Logan's property, and they obviously need to. The bodies were discovered on his property. He was in violation of his probation. He had certain things in his history, amongst other things, that's why they needed to search his residence. So things mentioned in that document, where she states that she believes he is the murderer, that's her job. She needs to convince the judge for them to search the property. yeah, there's literally so much in there. But yeah, that's what I've got written down for the PCA for Anne Logan. JSD? Oh, I think she's muted herself. Bear with me, guys. Let me just see where she's at. While we're waiting for her, guys, I just also want to point out a few other little points that where we got this kind of information from as well, like where we did hear kind of rumors in the beginning about, you know, how long the video was taken by Libby. But in the Ron Logan PCA, it does state here that
Sorry about that.
that's okay, sorry. Yeah, it does state that there was a 43-second video that was discovered on Liberty's phone, and it's very interesting, the statement after it. It says, because we speculated about how this kind of all started and occurred with how they started to film Bridge Guy. And this statement in the PCA says that the suspect follows the victims as they are walking on the Monon High Bridge Trail. Near the end of the video, the suspect speaks to the victims and says, "Down the hill." So from that, we obviously know the length of the video. We know that Bridge Guy was actually following the girls as they were walking. And it was near the end of that video that he started to talk to them and instruct them as to go down the hill, which I think is very interesting. There's so much information in here that I think even, you know, we not like forgot about, but even like the way it's worded, we kind of forget certain things. And it is in here if you read it.
I think that, you know, it was definitely revealing of some things after we hear rumors about certain evidence and after the funeral and different things. And we know also what kind of rumors went around about the crime scene. There's a video, I don't have it pulled up right now, but I can end up showing you that the sticks being on the girls was not new news. That was a rumored out very early by a few people. And I found a video that talked about it on an old Michael Katz video.
Yeah.
Where he actually brings it up about sticks being on the girls. And that is at the very beginning that came out. Now, we knew that was going to come out because there were a few multiple people who were there when the girls' bodies were discovered.
Yeah.
So we also knew at the funeral about that they were very much talking about that if the girls, you know, necks were hidden because of, you know, we heard about a possible, you know, the knife.
Yeah,
and
to the throat area.
And that came, you know, came to fruition here too. So as we look at this, I pulled this up from the very beginning of when this was first filed. that they were wanting, the defense had been wanting the search warrant and the released, period. You don't keep the evidence, the probable cause. They definitely did not want the bullet in there. They're not going to reveal to you anything else that they're not sure of, or that they want you to know of in the public that they found in there. So at the very beginning, what I just did is, this is just the state's objection to the defense motion to suppress back then when they first filed this. In their reply about the motion to suppress, whether they had the probable cause to do the search October 13th. And I'm not going to go through all of that motion to suppress because, we kind of know about all of the reasons that what they're pushing back on and different
I'm sure most of you
cases.
guys have probably read through it as well.
Right. So, but what we are going to focus on is what law enforcement said at the time that they got the search warrant.
Yeah.
So this is at the address of Richard Allen at the 1967 North Whiteman Drive in Delphi, that they hereby authorize and order that in the name of the state of Indiana, with the necessary and proper assistance, to enter into or upon the property, including the residence, outbuildings, including a wooden shed on the property, and a 2016 black Ford Focus SE vehicle located at the 1967 North Whiteman Drive, Delphi, Indiana, Carroll County. Said property being the residence of Richard M. Allen. The residence located on the property is described as a ranch-style house that is brick with a 2-car garage. Now, that's important about the garage because there's evidence they talk that they pull literally from the garage itself. As further depicted in the attached photograph, which they provided, that it also contains the wooded shed, that there's this 2016 black Ford Focus SE located on the property. Law enforcement is ordered to diligently search for any and all information and or evidence of the crime of murder in violation, Indiana code, blah, 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 specifically to search for handguns, .40 caliber ammunition, knives, blue sweatshirts, jackets, black sweatshirts, jackets, clothing, electronic devices, and a cell phone with the phone number, and then it shows that number. Any other cell phones and any other electronic devices located or in and on the locations described above. Law enforcement is authorized to search these areas to determine whether or not there has been a violation committed as described in the affidavit at the residence, in the yard, the vehicle, and any, I can't even see that word, appearances. You guys can correct me on that one. So this shows it's dated October 13th, shows it's filed. Okay, so this is when it goes into the detail.
Mm-hmm.
This is the affidavit for the search warrant, talking about his date of birth, September 9th. Talking Detective Liggett believes that evidence in the form of a handgun, .40 caliber ammunition, knives, blue sweatshirt jackets, black sweatshirt jackets, clothing, electronic devices, and a cell phone with the phone number, which they indicate, and any other cell phones used by Richard M. Allen will be located on the property. The affidavit states as follows in support of the search warrant.
Yeah.
So it goes into that on Monday, February 13th at approximately 1:50 p.m., Abigail Williams and Liberty German were dropped off by a family member at the Monon High Bridge Trail off of Country Road 300 North. On Tuesday, February 14, 2017, at approximately 12:17 p.m., the girls were found deceased. Their bodies were located in the woods northeast on the Monon High Bridge. I'm sorry, northeast of the Monon High Bridge.
Yeah.
Autopsies of the girls ruled their deaths as homicide, and their wounds were caused by a sharp object. Investigators located Liberty German's iPhone S6 under her body
Yeah.
at the scene. I want to emphasize that. I don't know why that's misinformation. Why do people keep saying her phone was under Abby? I don't get it. What's the point?
Because
What is
that's
the point of lying about that?
I know, the defense's statement, that's what happened. But again, this is what we had first. So why are we to believe anything different? Why would
It
they
makes no
state that
sense to me.
They wouldn't state that wrong here. It's very important, you know?
Fluffy Bunny, I will get that link to that video. I do have that. Was gonna do a little short video about that because that was very early on that was out there.
Can definitely post that in the comments.
Let me go back here. I just don't know why people lie about that. That makes no freaking sense to me whatsoever. But anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so remember, this is Liberty German's iPhone 6S is under her body at the scene, and we're able to recover a video approximately 43 seconds in length, captured at 2:13 p.m. on February 13th, 2017.
Also, can I just point one other thing out before you
Please.
even go into this?
Yes.
What you're about to say as well, I just wanted to say for everyone listening, this part is also very important because there's also some speculation and crazy rumors, I will say, that people even say that Abby wasn't on the bridge, which is crazy. And this states, obviously, we've got video evidence of that.
Yeah, I mean the rumors.
The rumors are crazy.
It's amazing how much they've adjusted, though. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
the first beginning rumors is this, and the next rumors are this, and
people have made it a circus, and it's disappointing.
it
I'll
is
say that
because if you're not helping the case.
you shouldn't be talking
Honestly,
about it.
helping the case doesn't mean you go investigate and think you're going to figure out. We have FBI, Indiana State Police, local people. I mean, if you know something, if you have knowledge of something, if you know about people involved or communications or whatever, of course, you as an individual should make contact and give a tip in about that. But to make up anything or to spread something that you don't have proof to tell does not help anybody.
It's detrimental to this case, and you don't understand the harm that you are causing by doing it. Yeah.
So the video depicts Abigail walking on the Monon High Bridge towards Liberty, while a male subject wearing a dark jacket and jeans walks behind her.
So, according to what we know from the timeline, which is fact, the time that Libby did capture that image of Abby on the bridge, we know that it was shortly after that picture was taken, he started to approach them and follow them on that bridge.
Right. Near the end of the video, the man is heard in the video telling the girls down the hill. Through further investigation of the location of the bodies, investigators also located a .40 caliber unspent round They also determined that articles of clothing from the girls were missing from the scene, including a pair of underwear and a sock.
Yeah.
Through the investigation, there were interviews done with 3 of 4 girls that were on the trails that day. The girls observed a male on the trails on February 13th, 2017, that matched the description of the male in the video recorded by Liberty German. The 3 girls identified as, I don't know why they have their names, but they do.
Yeah. We don't
God bless them, but I think they should have blocked this out. I know that the defense argued that the whole thing should have been released. I think the girls these were teenage girls at the time, their names should have been blocked out for their own safety.
Absolutely.
But their names were listed. Encountered this male near a bench east of the Freedom Bridge. Okay, so let me clarify for people who don't know this. The Freedom Bridge is the big bridge that basically goes over the highway.
Yeah.
The Monon High Bridge is the bridge the girls walked across. Those are 2 different things.
They were walking towards the Freedom Bridge as if they were going home, and they saw,
A
the
man walking from there.
away, so going towards the Monon High Trail.
Who matched the description of BG guy.
Yeah.
The girls were on the trail and they were walking towards the Freedom Bridge to go home. The male then encountered was walking from the Freedom Bridge towards the Monon High Bridge. One of the 3 girls identified as her name described the male as an older man. Now remember, these are like 14, 15, 16-year-old girls, guys.
Yeah.
An older man walking on the trails as they were leaving, and she described him as kind of creepy. In a text from one of the girls to another, she described the man as wearing like blue jeans and like really light blue jacket. His hair was gray, maybe a little brown, and he did not really show his face. Investigators Steve Mullen and Brent Ingram interviewed her, and she described the male as wearing a blue jacket and light blue faded blue jeans. The jacket was a canvas duck type jacket. The other girl was also in the group of the 4 girls, and she said that she said hi to that man, but he just glared at them. She recalled him being in all black and had something covering his mouth. She recalled telling her sister that someone was in a grumpy mood. She went on to describe him as not very tall and a bigger build. She said that he was not bigger than 5'10". She went on to say in an interview that he was wearing a black hoodie or black jeans and black boots. She said that he had his hands in his pockets. An interview was conducted in 2020 with this other girl. Sorry, I just don't want to name their names. She was able to show investigators a picture that she took on her phone of the Monon High Bridge with a timestamp of 12:43 p.m. Eastern. She showed investigators another picture she took at the bench just east of the Freedom Bridge that's when they were leaving at 1:26 p.m. She stated that after she took the picture of the bench, they started walking back towards the Freedom Bridge. And she stated that's when they walked past the man who matched the description of the individual in the picture. Detective Liggett believes the picture that she is referring to is the picture law enforcement released of the man on the bridge taken from the video Liberty captured on her cell phone on the day of the murders. And this Bree described the man as wearing a black or blue windbreaker jacket. She stated the jacket had a collar and he had his hood up from the clothing underneath the jacket. She advised he was wearing baggy jeans and was taller than her. She stated her head came up to approximately his shoulders. She told the other girl, said hi to the man, and that he said nothing back. She described the man as walking with a purpose, like he knew he was where he was going. She also stated the man had his hands in his pockets and kept his head down. She didn't get a good look at his face, but believed he was a white male. As the girls left, they crossed the Freedom Bridge and the railroad bridge over State Road 25. An individual by the name of Betsy Blair was returning to the trails to finish her walk. Betsy Blair is seen on video at the Hoosier Harvest Store on 300 North, traveling eastbound to the trailhead to park at 1:46. That's military time, so I'm just doing it for you. Blair saw the girls walking above as she went under the railroad bridge. On September 21st, 2022, Detective Liggett was provided a tip narrative from Orion to review. It was from DNR Lieutenant Dan Dolan. Okay, anybody who doesn't know this, I did a video about the Orion system and Dan Dolan. If you haven't seen that, please go take a look at that.
Went into that one. It's very good. Absolutely.
Hello, CJK. Hello, Polygraph. Hello, I'm sorry. Kind of catch up. I just got to glance back over here. So if you guys have not, you guys need to go check that out. I did a video on the Orion system. I did it about the cases that was used. That case was actually, Orion system was used to solve a murder of a girl in Fort Wayne back in the day. And I talked about how that system was used and that when they have multiple agencies putting in clues together, when it's a massive thing, they also use that for the DC sniper, that all the different agencies, no matter who you're with, if you're a federal, if you're a state police, if you're local police, no matter who you are, they're trained to put this information in the Orion system. It gathers all of the info and it spits out clues and info and things to you. And I went through all of that and the different scenarios of how that could have popped out. And you also probably know that, that could have popped out and it could have been because he could have been listed more as an eyewitness rather than an actual, hey, by the way, this guy is on the scene.
Yeah.
And that's how it's in there. It also, I went through my last video of Keegan Kline, the setup, Anthony Schatz, the setup for Richard Allen for the meeting. That's my marathon show I did. I talked about the timeline that is very interesting of that this popped out on September 21st when the river search is still going on. The Wabash River search that was stimulated from Keegan Kline changing custody hands from the police to the state police, taken to the Air Force Base questioned, started the search. That was on August 19th, started the search of the Wabash River, continued through the end of September, 6-week search. In the midst of this, somehow on September 21st, Liggett gets this also Orion system that comes to him. So if you go look at that timeline, that all happens the same time. And then when he's search warrant on not till October 13th, think about that. There was no rush. He got this hint. He got this so-called Orion system, or he got a tip from Keegan Kline that made him pull out the Orion system that shows, so he had it September 21st. They didn't go search his house and question him until later on. They didn't rush out and go look at Richard Allen instantly. It popped out. This search warrant and stuff didn't happen until October 13th when he was questioned. So this system comes out, and the narrative is this. This is the info that came out of the Orion system that Dan Dolan had put in. Mr. Allen was on the trail between 1:30 and 3:30. He parked at the old Farm Bureau building and walked to the new Freedom Bridge. While at the Freedom Bridge, he saw 3 females. Well, look at that. The 3 females who saw him confirmed that they saw him.
Consistent.
The eyewitnesses saw him, and he says he saw them. He noted one was taller and had brown or black hair. He did not remember descriptions, nor did he speak with them. He walked from the Freedom Bridge to the High Bridge. Well, hell, those eyewitnesses said the same thing. That's where he was headed.
Yeah.
He did not see anybody, although he was watching a stock ticker on his phone as he walked. He stated there were vehicle parked at the High Bridge trail head. However, did not pay attention to them. He did not take any photos or videos. His cell phone did not list an IMEI, but did have the following: the MEID. And so there's the MEID. The difference of that is where, like, a Google can locate you GPS phone versus a not. So famously known as a burner phone. Potential follow-up information. Who were the 3 girls walking in the area of Freedom Bridge? So this is what Dan Dolan put down. Who were these 3 girls walking the Freedom Bridge? Well, we know who they are. They were teenage girls who said that. So through this statement, Mr. Allen admitted that on February 13th, he parked his vehicle at the old Farm Bureau building from 1:30 to 3:30 and was on the trails at the time. There is no old Farm Bureau building. So he was trying to call it something different than what everybody else knows it as, which is the CPS building. And later when they talk to him, they know that. So in 2017, Richard Allen owned a 2016 black Ford Focus and a 2006 gray Ford 500. Upon review of the video collected from the Hoosier Hardware store on February 13th, investigators were able to locate a vehicle that appears to match Allen's 2016 Ford Focus on the video at 1327 hours. So that's at 1:27 p.m. actual time. This coincides with Allen saying that he was at the trails around 1:30. Liggett then examined the timeline for the day of the homicides. As previously said above, those girls were leaving the trails and passed by the male matching his description in the video given by Liberty. The statements by Allen and the timestamps of the video from the Hoosier Harvest Store and the statements from the 3 of the 4 girls, Detective Liggett believes that the male the 3 of the girls saw, in fact, was Richard Allen. So remember, guys, he puts himself there. He gave the time. He didn't give it now when they thought he was a suspect. He gave it back in 2017. Why do you say? He had to. He was seen. Right? Which I'm going to say makes me wonder if this would have been his first time of this ever happening, because why would he not abort and not do what he was going to do? He had to go meet those girls at that time that they were there. He had to meet Libby while she was there at that time. It was scheduled time. It wasn't randomly run into her.
It couldn't have been, I'm sorry, in my opinion.
So he's going to go no matter what. He's got to be there. He's, really rushing to make sure he's there. So now Allen stated that after he passed the girls and then he walked to the high bridge, he said he saw nobody else. Investigators believe that after passing the Hoosier Harvest Store at 146, Blair parked at the trailhead entrance across from the Mears residence. Guys, remember that on the map. That's right across from there. Yes. In her interview, she says there are no other cars at the trailhead entrance at the time. She walked to the Monon High Bridge, and a male matching the male from Liberty's video, she described him as a white male wearing blue jeans and a blue jean jacket. This matches the blue duck canvas jacket that Anna, one of the witnesses, spoke of. Blair said that the male was standing on the first platform of the Monon High Bridge, approximately 50 feet away from her. 50 feet, guys, that means she can see him. Yes. That means you can 50 feet away. That's not far.
And she matches him to the description of the man in Liberty's video. So that was Bridge Guy for sure at that time.
And he's on there. So she's confirming that same guy is standing on a platform. So on the bridge, there's not very often, but there's these little side areas.
Wait and see what she says next.
Do what? I'm sorry.
I said wait and see what she says next, because she literally says that when she turns, I can read it if you want me to.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but basically she says here that when she turned around at the bridge and continued her walk, and approximately halfway between the bridge and the main hub of the trails, she passed 2 girls walking towards the high bridge. And she said that she believed it was Liberty German and Abigail Williams. So that means that this witness saw Bridge Guy standing on the platform of the bridge before the girls even got to the bridge.
Right.
Which is very important and interesting to note as well.
And basically at the platform, at that first platform at 50 feet.
Yeah.
So they pass her heading towards the bridge.
Yeah.
So she says she believes she saw them. And at 1:49 on the Hoosier Harvest Store video, there is a white car that matches Kelsey German's vehicle, right? Liberty and Abigail would have been dropped off right before this video. Blair finished her walk and is seen on the Hoosier Harvest Store video leaving westbound at 2:14. Blair said that she saw no adults other than the male on the bridge. All right, sorry, make sure. Oops. As Blair was leaving, she noted a vehicle was parked in an odd manner at the Old Child Protection Services building. She said that it was not odd for vehicles to be parked there, but it was odd that the way it was backed in near the building. She said that the vehicle often used the south edge of the parking lot, so they are closer to the trail to get to the Freedom Bridge, which is the bigger bridge. Yes. Detective Liggett reviewed a tip. This is the tip number from Terry Wilson. Sorry, I want to move this here real quick. Wilson was on his way to Delphi on February 13, 2017, on the Hoosier Heartland Highway at approximately 2:10. He observed what he described as a purple PT Cruiser or a small SUV type vehicle parked on the south side of the old CPS building. Wilson said that it was backed in as to conceal the license plate to the vehicle. During their interview, both Blair and Wilson drew a diagram and had the vehicle they saw parked to the same general area and manner. An interview was done of Sarah Carball in 2017, and she states that she was traveling east on 300 North and observed a male subject walking west on the north side of 300 North, away from the Monon High Bridge. She stated that he was wearing a blue colored jacket and blue jeans and was muddy and bloody. So I want to emphasize this. In the statement of muddy and bloody, a couple things. One, he's wearing a blue jacket and blue jeans. She is still stating he's wearing the blue jacket. She did not say he's not wearing the blue jacket. One. Two, he's not saying bloody as that he's got blood like all over his body.
No. But interestingly enough, we did learn that in the Ron Logan probable cause affidavit that they do state that there was such a large amount of blood, at the crime scene, that they are almost certain the killer would have gotten some blood on him.
Right. So, they said on his hands or on his clothes.
Clothing.
And that she further stated that it appeared he had gotten into a fight, which could mean that he had blood, could have had blood on his face or what,
or bruises or scratches. Yeah.
Investigators determined from the video that she was on 300 North at 3:57, which always freaked me out because he was there a lot later than very early on a lot of people were saying. It was trying to indicate at first that like the killer had left like 15, 20 minutes right after the family had got there, which was not the case.
They said that he had already left by the time Derek had arrived, which we obviously know is not true.
Right. So here we go when they call in. So remember the date of September that we shared of the 21st that Liggett gets this out of the Orion system. My belief is either it came out of Orion miraculously while the water search is going on at the same exact time, or it came from a tip. from
Yeah.
Keegan Klein. Okay, those are my two theories. I just think it's very much a big coincidence, and there's not a lot of coincidences in true crime.
It's
But
hard to believe coincidences in true crime, for
right,
sure.
and if go look at that video of exactly the timeline that I did for that. Richard M. Allen was interviewed then on October 13th. So from September 21st, when they have his name, regardless of where they got it from, they investigated all the way up until they decided to interview him on October 13th. So they're checking his shit before this goes on. He was interviewed by Liggett and the Carroll County prosecutor and investigator Stephen Mullins. He agrees to come to the center and speak with investigators. He was advised his rights, and he was further advised that he was not under an arrest and was free. Damn it. It always goes faster than I want it. Free to leave at any time. Investigator Mullen explained to him how to leave the center if he so desired. He stated that he was, in fact, on the trails on February 13th. He further stated that he saw 3 girls on the trails east on Freedom Bridge. So he reconfirmed he saw the witnesses who saw him, the 3 girls.
He reconfirmed his statement from 2017.
And also that he went on the Monon High Bridge. So he admits he was on the bridge. Remember, the second witness, well, I call it second, but you know what I mean? The second witness situation, right? The lady who saw him on the bridge, he admits he's on the bridge. She saw him on the bridge while Libby and Abby are heading that way.
Yep.
He also told investigators that he was wearing blue jeans and a blue or black Carhartt jacket with a hood on that day.
Yep.
So he admits to wearing the clothes that the bridge guy's wearing.
So there's a couple of points definitely to take away from that. So not only does he confirm his statement from 2017, he confirms that he walks on the bridge, which is witness confirmed. He talked about the 3 girls that he saw, which they confirmed, the witness confirmed. And he describes the outfit he's wearing, which matches Libby's video that he took of Bridge Guy. And that is also witness confirmed because she believes that the man she saw on the bridge was from Libby's video. But also what's interesting about that statement to me is he never ever mentioned seeing any other males at the time. And would he not have seen Bridge Guy if it wasn't him?
Right. Right.
So interesting.
I was going to ask a question. Where did it come from that Sarah C. corrected that statement and said muddy and a brown sweat jacket? We keep hearing that narrative. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing.
Exactly.
The narrative comes out from people who don't want to read you the evidence.
They don't sit here and read through this. They don't.
Now, here's the thing. If there are people out there who don't believe police officers, detectives, the FBI, Indiana State Police, Carroll County, and all of the above, then I can't help you no matter what, right? People aren't going to believe that whatsoever. But there is so much, I'm sorry, I'm going to cuss, bullshit. I'm sorry, there is so much bullshit that keeps coming out that people aren't showing you the freaking proof of what it is and where it is. Yeah. If God forbid, if you watch something else, make them show you the evidence. You can watch any of my videos whatsoever. I show you always the source, always the news report, always the news article, always the statement from the person themselves, anything, or the documentation it came from.
And you can speculate and have theories all you want, but you have to state them as so. And if something you're thinking of you know, you think it might be hurtful to actually say that on the internet for everyone else to see, then don't say it. Like, there's so many things that conversations we've had privately about things in this case that we definitely wouldn't share with you because we don't have the evidence, we don't have sources, it's not a fact, it's just something we've come across and we know about. But until it's proven as a fact, it's not to be talked about.
I mean, and let me tell you, I hear all kinds of shit. I live here in Indiana. I'm not, you know, I told a long time ago, I'm doxing myself. This case means a lot to me because I live in Indiana. The reason that I sat here and started, you know, I knew about it from the very beginning when these little girls were just reported missing. And then our whole community went into shock when it was that they were murdered. You never expect that.
No.
And then I followed a lot of other true crime things because of this case. And then they were not covering certain things that I thought was important. And that stuff was about CSAM. It was about the Yellow app. And it was about this setup that's in there. There's tons of rumors and stuff that I go and I bring to our group, and we look in and we investigate, and we have found a lot of crap. Well, we will. I do not let us go live on it if I can't
prove it.
Prove it. If I can verify it, absolutely, then there it is. And then there's some stuff, you know, we kind of hold back because we also don't want to hurt the case. That's not our job.
This is real people that are involved here. So even if like someone's got a theory on who a suspect is, like for instance, you know, the defense have mentioned Brad Holder, like you can look all you want and research all you want, but if you have no definitive evidence and proof that someone is involved in something like that, you should not be saying it to everyone on the internet.
Yeah.
And if you have certain reasons why and things you do have, you should be sharing that with law enforcement.
So he said he was also wore some type of head covering. He further claimed that he saw no one else but the 3 girls that he observed east of the Freedom Bridge. Further, prior to the interview, he told investigators that he also had guns at the home. Right?
Yeah.
So then Richard Allen's wife, Kathy Allen, spoke to the investigators as well. She confirmed that Richard Allen did have guns and knives at the residence. She also stated that Richard still had a blue Carhartt jacket. The evidence gathered shows that on February 13th, that 4 girls, their names, and Isabel, whatever, were on the trail when they observed a male individual walking on the trails towards the Monon High Bridge. The male was wearing the clothes similar to the clothes of the male depicted in the video on Libby's phone. Remember, that's found under Libby's body, not under Abby's body, not somewhere else, not in a 5th shoe stuffed under whatever, not in a 3rd shoe because the girls only have 4 feet, whatever the hell, whatever freaking rumors going on again.
And nothing was photoshopped and altered. It actually came from her phone and it was taken by her.
Exactly. So I'm trying not to get saucy, but I can't help it. Investigators know that this male is the last known individual to have contact with Libby German and Abigail Williams before they were murdered. Further, Betsy Blair was shown a picture of the individual on the Monon High Bridge and she said that is the same individual that she witnessed on the trail and on the bridge. In an interview with Richard M. Allen, done on October 13th, not the same day that the Orion system popped the shit out, right? not that same day. On actual September 21st is when this Orion / my opinion, Keegan Kline, October 13th, then they're doing this. He admits that he was in fact on the trail on February 13th, 2017, and that he walked past the 3 girls. Okay, clue. Here's the thing. You want to say that he now says that he was gone. He can't be gone, guys. I'm trying not to say the big word.
These are all
said he
witnesses.
was passing those girls, and they know the time he passed them. They took pictures. They're teenage girls.
It's not just one.
To that goddamn bench.
It's not just one person that can testify to the time that they saw him.
Exactly.
It's multiple.
Exactly.
And not only that,
over there, they took pictures when they were near the bench. They said when they ran into him. He says he saw him. They saw him. They know what time it was. So guess what? He didn't leave at that time. He just got there. He just got there.
He did law enforcement's job for them. He literally confirmed everything the witnesses had said. He confirmed for them. He confirmed he was on the bridge like the witnesses said. He confirmed that he passed those 3 girls like they said. He confirmed he was wearing the actual clothing confirmed bridge guy wore. And also what's so interesting is no other witnesses saw him or bridge guy after a certain time, which was the same time approximately that Liberty took the video of bridge guy, 2:13.
Yep.
And no other male is witnessed by any of these witnesses or by Richard Allen himself.
And we know when Betsy Blair sees him and leaves, because we have the pictures to show the timings she gets there and when she leaves.
Yes.
Remember, she saw the 3 girls when they were leaving. Those witnesses, she saw them when they were leaving. Yeah. She saw them going over that bridge. She's on her way there. The time she turns around, she pulls in, she goes up there. Where's the guy now? He's on the freaking platform of the bridge.
And not only do they have the witness statements, they've obviously got the video footage, from that building that they have of certain cars. They know that what that witness said about seeing that man on the bridge and then coming back and seeing Libby and Abby is correct in the timeline from where Kelsey would have dropped them off and when she left.
Right.
It all matches. It all confirms itself. And then Richard Allen goes ahead and confirms it again, instead of saying, no, that wasn't the correct time, like the defense is now trying to claim. He confirms it twice.
So after Betsy Blair confirms she sees the guy on the bridge, she sees the photo, tells him, yes, that is the same guy. Then he says he's physically on the bridge himself. After Betsy Blair sees that individual there, several other individuals on the trail that don't observe the man or Liberty German or Abigail Williams.
Yeah.
She is the last person that sees Richard Allen and Abby and Libby.
Yeah.
None of them. So Abby and Libby is never seen again.
No.
After they walk past her and head to that bridge.
And other individuals that were on the trails around the same times that day were identified by law enforcement, and none of them matched Bridge Guy's description, and none of them saw Bridge Guy, which is interesting.
So after this all happens, then we've got Sarah, right? We've got Sarah, who then observes a man walking down 300 North with a blue jacket and jeans, and that he is muddy and bloody, as it had just been in a fight. She is shown the picture of the man on the bridge and says that is the same man she observed walking on 300 North.
Yeah.
So she is shown the picture and says, this is the same guy. Investigators believe that Richard M. Allen is the last individual to have contact with Liberty German and Abigail Williams. Investigators further believe that Richard Allen is the individual depicted on the Monon High Bridge from the video taken from Liberty German's phone. So this goes into Detective Liggett's info, his training, saying that he believes that the evidence from the crime may be found in the house,
on the cell phone.
He talks about what Richard Allen admits to, what he still has, that he still has this clothing. The wife confirms it. Talking about what was pictured on the phone, on everything here, and that he believes in the search warrant, that they're going to go find this. The other reason why is because after they interview Richard Allen on October 13th, and he reconfirms seeing the witnesses, he confirms wearing the clothing seen worn by the bridge guy. He confirms that he owns guns, and he owns knives, and he still has this clothing. Now he knows he's a suspect. They can't let him go home and destroy what evidence. That's normal. So they sit here and they ask for the search warrant of his home then. So then you see that they file this, and it shows at 7:09 p.m. And this is the property that was taken from the house. And we want to look at this here again. So property record and receipt by the Indiana State Police. And I want to make sure that we show what it's here. So you see the detective who took it. It shows you October 13th, 7 o'clock. From Richard Allen. It shows the address. It shows you which state police office it was taken to. So, sealed cardboard. Now, the most everything at the beginning is what they put the stuff in, okay? So I'm going to just read the other. Containing one black Sig Sauer P226 .40 caliber handgun, serial number. Now, let me say this. Remember that when they take guns from other people's house, if it doesn't match the weapon and bullet, then it doesn't match the weapon and bullet that they're looking for. But Richard Allen owns the gun that they're looking for. Then they have the .40 caliber S&W cartridge found in a wooden keepsake box on a dresser between both closets in the master bedroom. Now, I do want to point out that there's a far column. It shows lab exam. And some of these items have a check mark or an X in it, and some do not. So I just want to point that out. So the first two show lab exam. They have a containing one .40 caliber S&W cartridge found inside the Sig Sauer P226 handgun. So there was one inside it. They have two magazines, one filled with 9 .40 caliber cartridge and one with only 8 .40 caliber cartridge. Then they have one black Sig Sauer handgun case containing one trigger lock with 2 keys. Then they have a paper-wrapped wooden weave box containing 2 AudioVox devices, one silver Motorola flip phone, and it has the codes for all of these, one silver Motorola flip phone, and 4 car chargers, 3 walk 3 wall outlet charges. Now, I want you to pay attention to how many phones are connected from this. One Lexer compact flash, which is 1 gigabyte memory card. Now, for a man who works at Walmart and works at CVS, I don't know why he needs so many gigabyte drives, but
it's also interesting to me, the ammunition that they found is what they were actually looking for, what they stated in the Ron Logan probable cause.
right, he has the actual weapon and bullet they're looking
He has
for.
the actual weapon and the bullets that they were looking for before, which means that, that bullet, they were aware of the type of bullet and the type of gun that they needed to find, for everybody who says that that was planted later on.
So this particular report is done. This one is at 9:47 at night on that same day. The submitting officer, this is Trooper Vito. Remember him? He's the one who interviewed Keegan Kline and was part of Keegan Kline's case for the state police. And this is the property receipt for this. So again, these are all put in sealed paper bags, but 1 pair of dirty Thorogood boot size 7.5 men's, 7.5 men's. 1 pair of dirty black boots size 6.5 regular. 1 silver double-edged knife in a silver metal sheath. 1 brown, gold, and silver folding knife. A black sheath containing 1 brown, gold, and silver folding knife. 1 black sheath containing 1 black handled silver bladed imperial knife. 1 black sheath containing 1 foldable knife with a red gold handle. 1 sheath containing 2 Ozark trail knives. 1 black sheath containing 1 knife with a wood ivory handle and a gold guard. Oh, shoot. See, every time I do that, I always click it just a little too much. All right. And let's see. 1 rusted old-timer folding knife. 1 sharp 2-bladed folding knife. 1 black folding Gerber knife. And 1 black folding knife. A red-handled Crosley multi-tool. 1 blue multi-tool. 1 green and gold Indiana National Guard multi-tool. And 1 black multi-tool. 1 black sheath containing a brown-handled, silver-bladed saber brown knife. 1 blue jacket with red stripes, Adidas. 1 blue quarter zip sweatshirt. 1 black and green Fox hooded sweatshirt. 1 black and gray North End coat. 1 black Carhartt coat. 1 pair of Timberland boots, size 8. 1 pair of blue Arizona jeans, size 34-29. Let me go down, make sure I don't overshoot it again.
Got paranoia now.
I do want to point out, one of our discussions also was that, when they talk about stuff that they took in the scene and how broad the scene was marked off so large, it's not just where the girls' bodies were. The crime scene itself was huge. It would go, area. I mean, when you think of where they searched, it was very far. It went from all the way from the bridge, from the Monon High Bridge, all the way to where the girls' bodies were found was searched, because that would be the whole area that obviously the murder took them. But
Um,
when
if
it
you
talks about
do,
where the bodies are found, you're talking all the way from where the girls' bodies are on the bank, all the way
yeah,
down to the water where evidence was found in the
yeah,
water.
the path that they believed would have been taken would have been thoroughly searched from beginning to end where the crime scene was. And if you do, have a little look and research, there are actually images available online of, the crime scene kind of area afterwards where that crime scene tape is still there. And you can see just how large just that area was taped off.
And that area was taped off for weeks. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it was guarded for
No.
weeks, but I
I
am
mean,
saying it was there for weeks,
yeah,
blocked off. And like I said, for a while, the stuff and evidence is searched, with the bodies remaining there, with the girls' bodies still remaining there. And then, just like we all see it, they go in and they mark different areas. They put down
with
the
flags.
numbers for different evidence and things that are there. So if the girl sat here and had it, so when they talk about sticks, come on, people.
Hmm.
This is the FBI, the Indiana State Police, all of
Yeah.
them are out there doing. You want to tell me that you believe that they literally lift a stick off of one of the girls and then just laid it down on the ground and then later go, oh, wait a minute, we need that stick? No. What would they
Yeah. I
do?
mean,
They take photos of it before they move anything. They sit here and they grab anything while they're
they,
wearing gloves, and
they
they're going
bag
to stick it
evidence.
in bags.
Absolutely. And, if there's a difference between, like, if people understand how that crime scene would have appeared, like you said in the beginning of this video, there was so much leaves on the ground, there would have been mud, sticks, debris, all kind of various things would be on the ground, at that time of year. Um, would the investigators have taken, random sticks off the ground unless they saw some sort of evidence on them? No. But the sticks that were supposedly placed on the girls, whether it was thought to have been strategic or not, like those would have been tested.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's undeniable.
And the
I
other thing
mean,
that we have to think about is, why would they take all these boots? Because the area was melted. Okay, it was warmer, so any snow, anything like that that would have been melted off,
mhm,
anything like that whatsoever,
mhm.
is all going to be there. We know it is muddy for there, right? It's muddy
Yeah,
off the banks.
yeah,
Plus we know that they crossed the water in
yeah,
order to get to that bank and to the other side.
yeah.
So what do we know? We do know that they knew that one of the girls, it was said that looked like there was sliding or slipping, I'll put it that way. So when they talk about that, here's the other thing. If somebody, a guy, an adult, not a kid, it's easier for a kid. If a guy is going to try to crawl up a bank, and it's muddy, and you also just stepped in water to get up that, I think the odds are probably pretty good there is a boot print.
Hmm.
And if
Um,
there is a boot print, then you got to, okay, people are going to go, well, you can't trust the boot print because, you know, where the people were searching. Okay, well, people weren't searching like crazy
and not
over
in
in
that
there because
area
they
yet.
weren't in Ron Logan's, right? They weren't
Hmm.
over in Ron Logan's property, but let's say a few people did.
Hmm.
We do know that the people, the search people, the group who went down there and then knew that they found the shoe in the
Hmm.
water. And so they are walking down towards the water to
Yeah.
find, to look, and they find the girls' bodies. That when they do that, guess what? They're going to know what those people are wearing. and they're going to know what law enforcement are wearing. They're going to take samples of the shoes or boots or whatever the volunteers and the people who are around that scene are going to search. So let's say there's hypothetically, there's not only a bullet between the girls, maybe there's a boot print.
Yeah, and also if, you have seen this video, or, you can actually search for it. It's on YouTube, where after the bodies were found, three of the law enforcement investigators actually did an interview with the media, and they sat down and said, they hadn't been identified as of yet. However, they had located 2 bodies in that area. And they do actually go on to say in that interview that they saw kind of indentations, or like JSD just mentioned, kind of slips in the mud of that bank, which looked like somebody had walked up there. So it's very, very likely that they were shoe prints.
So when you talk about the boots that they're taking, even the variety of sizes of the boots, they're taking all of these boots not to check if they look like what's in a picture. They're probably taking those boots because they're going to match it to an imprint that they took and got from the crime scene. Because if he's taking them up the bank out of the water and getting the girls to go up that, there is going to probably, more than likely, be a boot print. And if a witness says that this guy is muddy and bloody, then I'm going to think he left a print at the scene.
Not only that, we had this discussion the other day as well, about, kind of DNA and things like that. But also, even with mud, law enforcement would be able to determine where that mud came from, whether it was on an item of clothing or in a vehicle or something like that. They would be able to determine whether it was the same mud in the crime scene area.
Right.
Yes.
So I just wanted to bring that up because I'm reading a bunch of stuff about the boots, and I wanted to point that out before I forgot, of stuff, because we know why they're taking the clothing. They're going to check if there's any type of DNA or stuff in there, which may be more difficult when it comes to clothing.
How many years as
Because
well?
he could have replaced something. He could, obviously clean something a million times as far as clothing is concerned. But the boots is different.
Things too,
Yeah. So then we've got they took the pair of blue Arizona jeans, 34.29. Another pair of Arizona jeans, 34.29. A pair of blue Levi Strauss jeans, 34.29. Blue Levi Strauss jeans, 34.29. A winter gray hat with fur like fibers. One black and red UFC hooded sweatshirt with a full zip. A quarter zip George sweatshirt. One black blue quarter zip Walmart sweatshirt. One blue George sweatshirt with quarter zip. One blue Kenneth Cole sweatshirt. One blue Fruit of the Loom sweatshirt. One blue starter sweatshirt. One black spider hooded sweatshirt. One blue sweatshirt with an old label. One blue Adidas sweatshirt. One brown fitted cap with a small bill. A black WRI stocking cap, one black NASCAR Ford Racing stocking cap, one black Adidas stocking cap, one red, white, and gray, brown Canada stocking cap, a gray and black Adidas skull cap, a gray and white NFL Colts skull cap, one brown Carhartt stocking cap, 10 pairs of gloves and 1 extra glove, 1 blue fabric strap and 1 blue-green fabric strap, 1 HP laptop serial number, 1 HP Pavilion laptop serial number, 1 plastic bag containing multiple headbands, 1 cardboard phone box containing miscellaneous cellular information, 1 Winchester Supreme Elite empty ammo box, 1 small envelope containing 1 Cruiser Micro 2 gigabyte flash drive with Rick on the back. I think that's interesting by itself. That inside, so it's not an envelope they put it in. It is a sealed envelope, but it was they put in that sealed envelope an envelope that contained
his
a
name on
flash
it.
drive with 2 gigabytes with
And
his name on it.
you know what comes to my head when I think about that? Yes, he could have put his own name on it and just put it in an envelope for whatever reason, but it just immediately makes me think that that was given to him by somebody and they put his name on it to make sure they gave him the right one. It's just
Well, or he puts his name
interesting
on it because he doesn't want anybody else to touch it.
to use it and in an envelope. Yeah.
Then he
Interesting.
has 1 gigabyte Western Digital hard drive, which I think is interesting that he has a hard drive separated out.
And that's something they were also looking for when they stated things they were looking for in the
Oh yeah,
manual.
we're looking for any
What was
way
it
that he
called?
could have communicated with someone. Remember the whole
Mhm.
Anthony Schott stuff in there. So we've got
Oh,
1
yeah.
Samsung phone in a floral case. We have a miniature katana with a red tassel. We have 1 black sheath and 1 Rapella fillet knife from the garage, 1 black sheath and 1 the best defense knife from the garage, 1 black external hard drive and cord with the serial number, 1 smaller envelope containing 1 black iPod serial number, 1 smaller envelope containing 1 32 megabyte SD card and 1 256 megabyte SD card, 1 black sheath with an animal imprinted on the front, and 1 large wooden handled knife with a rusted blade from the garage, 5 miscellaneous vehicle chargers, 9 miscellaneous wall outlet chargers, miscellaneous phone accessories, 1 HP laptop charger, 2 pagers, 1 black and 1 blue, 3 Motorola and 1 LG flip phones, 1 LG Verizon smartphone, a cardboard box containing 1 LG Verizon side slide smartphone, 1 Motorola Verizon smartphone, 3 older cell phones, 1 AudioVox, 1 Nokia, and 1 Motorola. 1 cardboard box containing 1 Nokia 7705 twist cell phone and documents, 1 Gammon Street Pilot C340 device, 2 cords, and documentation. Plastic bag containing a custom vehicle operations motorcycle cover bag containing a motorcycle cover. A black Pixel 3A XL cell phone, MEID number, with a black OtterBox case. A black Samsung Galaxy A425G serial number with a brown case. Let's see, a sealed paper bag sealed by Steve Mullins containing 1 Aquafina water bottle. Well, we know why that was taken.
We always found it interesting how they named that person that sealed that piece of evidence. They don't do that anywhere else.
Yep. A silver LG singular wireless flip phone. Here we go to, this one is Richard Allen. This is showing Detective Harper, Indiana State Police, Lafayette location. This one's showing that this was done at 1:54 p.m. And this is October 14th. This is in Tippecanoe County. And this is actually at the West Lafayette address here. So this does not say completed at there because the car was taken. And you'll see the check box here. Sealed envelope containing a cutting of a carpet area underneath the spare tire of the Ford Focus, and that is marked for lab exam. Sealed envelope containing 2 plastic wraps containing 1 swab from a driver lap belt and 1 swab on the driver's shoulder belt of the Ford Focus. Then we have the sealed envelope containing 2 plastic wrappers containing 2 swabs from the passenger side carpeted floorboards. So that's interesting that it's coming off of the floorboard of the passenger side. So think if you get in the car and you throw something on the floorboard of the passenger side while you get in the car.
Just wanted
So
to mention something. There was a comment made by Dave Jenkins. He asked why the Aquafina water bottle was important, and it's simply because obviously we believe DNA has been taken from that, and so many rumors happened in the beginning of this case. I'm sure you know that people claimed there wasn't any DNA at all from the crime scene. So that's just why we thought it was interesting that they took
so basically they took the water bottle, they let them drink because they were there while the search was going on. The search went on for hours. And so if they asked them if they wanted something to drink, they'd give him the water bottle. He drinks from the water bottle. He's done with the water bottle. They bag the water bottle. And guess what they have? They've got his DNA.
They're not stupid, but he is.
So we've got all of this information that is taken, all of this info that talks about, you know, the crime scene, the what somebody's wearing when people are saying they're not wearing it, what they're saying that they were doing, you know, all of this is, you know, oh, wait a minute, they lost this evidence from it. They had 20,000 tips of people and they move on from different people. Why do you think of 20,000 tips they're going to keep, you know, every bit of every little thing? No, if they move on from somebody because there is no information, the people have an alibi, they check out the alibi, they move on from that, then you have to go where they're going with it. And, you know, they do talk about somebody, you know, whether somebody else can be involved or somebody else is in there. I don't think that's why they believe, in my opinion, I don't think that's why. I think, in my opinion, they're looking for how it was set up and how the meeting was set up and how he initially knew that the girls were going to be there. because I don't think this was random.
And
This was set up.
from all of these documents and these search warrants that we've got, they obviously believe that, and they state it, I believe, in the Ron Logan PCA as well, that they believe some sort of evidence is going to be found on phones or devices that either depict, photos, videos of the actual crime taking place, or after the crime took place, or even conversations or search history in regards to the crime. Similar things that Anthony Shorts Keegan Kline looked at while he was in Las Vegas and things like that. If they find anything like that on Richard Allen's devices, then that's it. And it's just very interesting that a lot of the stuff that we know they were looking for so early on with the Ron Logan probable cause, the things they state that they were looking for is obviously due to what they found at the crime scene. And here we have certain things being taken into evidence from this property that do match the things they were looking for, specifically the gun and the ammunition for that gun.
Right. And the other, they're not, I think, they're not going to sit here and remember, they never told people publicly that they had found a bullet at the crime scene between the girls. And why would you not tell somebody that they left something like that? Because they could have got rid of it. If you sit here and they find out about it and they know that, think about this. If they were just framing this and this was just for election purposes, then why did they not solve it a long time ago when they had the supposed Odinism, white supremacy stuff going on?
Yeah, it's very possible.
Or why didn't they just throw it onto Ron Logan to make it go away quickly? Or why didn't they just go ahead and just say, any of the other people point of interest that we talked about were in there?
Yeah, surely they would have chosen the easiest route to prove Richard Allen's innocence here, which would have been obviously the second most likely suspect that they could say would have been involved, right? Like, why? Yes, it's possible that law enforcement did look into Brad Holder, and that's where they got all this information about him and the investigation, because they could have actually looked at that early on. We just don't have the documentation for that. But that does not mean that they did not move on, just like the other suspects they have looked at and people they've spoken to, and they decided that that wasn't relevant here.
And we can't forget, and I pulled it right back up here again. This is a narrative that came from Dan Dolan. This is right after the murders. Richard Allen places himself there. His times that he says he's there, the times that he says he leaves. Then the defense tried to come in and say, oh, no, he didn't do that. He was trying to say it was a different time. They lied about that. Whatever. He reconfirmed everything. And then the defense tries to go, no, he meant he was gone at this time. And no, he put himself there. He already put himself there. Even the people he said he saw that saw him put him there at the times he said he got there.
And he's also got no explanation where he was from when the witness saw him around, 2:13.
Right. There's another point. He has no alibi. No, he has no other alibi because he was there.
That he was missing up until he was seen walking muddy and bloody. That's a significant period of time. That's the exact time the girls were murdered. And he also has no explanation as to how a bullet from his gun or cycled through his gun could have been found between the bodies of the girls. And also, he's at the bridge at that time, around 2:13, and we know that Libby started that video at the same time, 2:13. There's no way, in my opinion, that anybody else could have come into the picture at that time that nobody else would have seen. It's just so unlikely.
I agree with you, Dave Jenkins. Dave Jenkins said that the motorcycle cover is interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because
Mhm.
honestly, there could be tire tracks. There could be tire tracks, maybe of a certain type of motorcycle. Maybe it was there. Maybe something went
Also,
through, something went by. We don't have any idea.
that's another rumor that started very early on in this case. If you remember JSD as well, is a lot of people speculated that either someone left that area on a motorcycle or returned on one.
Right.
So someone else potentially who was involved,
Keep chatting
or
for a minute. I'll be right back.
that kind of, situation. Was it just a rumor? Because, there are very many rumors in this case, as we know, but there is also rumors that have actually now come to light as truth from the documents that we have read through. We know certain things as fact now, so it's very possible that that could come out as fact. And I think a lot of people have probably watched Captain Howdy's video on that as well, which I think everybody should definitely go and watch him. He's definitely one of the creators that we encourage you to consume his content. But he also does a very good video about kind of rumors early on in the case, and he does mention the motorcycle rumor, and it's very, very interesting. And he also always has a lot of facts and things to back up what he's talking about. Let's have a look at the comments. Yeah, so again about the water bottle, I'm not sure about that one. I haven't heard that myself, where you said that you've heard that it's possible Libby had a bottle with her at the time that was missing. Again, like I just said, that's something I've never heard, so it's possible it could be true, but again, that's just rumor to me until I've seen otherwise. But it's possible because we have had so many discussions of other things like that that we don't know. We do know descriptions of what Libby and Abby were wearing, but we don't know simple things like, were they wearing jewelry? Did they have a watch on? Something like that that could have been missing, or anything like that that we're just not aware of, but that could have been fact. Because we do have to remember we don't know everything that law enforcement know and what they found, what they didn't find. And it's very likely that whoever is involved, they definitely take some type of souvenir. We know that underwear and a sock was missing from one of the girls. And we also do know that clothing from both of them was found in the creek. So items of their clothing were definitely discovered. But then it does state that some were missing. So I have to wonder what else could have been missing as well that we just don't know about.
Exactly. Like jewelry.
Yep, jewelry, watches. Like I just said, we know from the picture that Abby had her hair up, in some sort of hair tie. We don't even know that, was that still in her hair at the time? It's just little things like that that I think of, that obviously the family members and things would be aware if things were missing, but could be very, very important as well if something like that is discovered somewhere.
Yeah, I think that, just like they talk about, it was brought up about clothing, who's wearing whose clothing and what they were wearing. I did a video on that.
Yes.
I themed it off of the Liar Liar movie with Jim Carrey.
Yes, because that's another thing that people talk about from the defense's document, isn't it? Where they claim, Abby was dressed in Libby's clothes and all these kind of things, and
let me tell you, if something comes out that proves something different, I will
absolutely we will.
totally say,
Yeah,
hey, that video was wrong. Let me redo it.
But we
But I
have to.
showed in that video
Yeah.
the news report of that night when they were still looking for the girls,
Mhm.
what they said they were wearing, and
Mhm.
what was in the reports of what they were wearing.
Yeah.
They were not both wearing jeans.
Nope. Until it's proven to us like otherwise, you can't just, go from that. The Frank's memorandum, you just
And
can't.
some of the stuff you wonder why that why so many narratives that they want to change. Why does so much of it that they want to change? You know what I
Yes.
mean? Who's wearing what? Who's the thing? I mean, I get why they have to change who the victim is, for their Odinism stuff. Honestly, actually I take that back because their Odinism stuff makes no sense to me because
No.
their Odinism is based on white supremacy.
Do
So
you
they're
think
trying to
that
say
they
that white supremacists killed 2 white girls.
Well, JSD, why do you think that they tried to take it more off of Libby and more onto Abby? In my opinion, it's because of the connection to Libby and how this whole crime took place. There's
Yep.
truth to that,
Yep.
and they can't put that in there. They have to deflect away from it.
I mean, it's bad because the more and more and more that this gets out of
Hmm.
misinformation, then you worry about a fair trial no matter what. The fair trial with the right information is one thing. And if they want to have this whole conspiracy, other stuff, then why not just present it to your juror? Why not just present it to the jury trial? Wait for when you're supposed to present that instead of trying to flow all of this information. And in my opinion, try to affect the actual jury pool of who may come on the case. And to see, or to check what sticks or whatever. And I don't understand it. And like I said, I'm somewhat shocked by like I said, some channels and some actual people that I would never in my life think that they would sit here and spread information out there that's just not right. I don't get it. I don't understand it.
Mm-mm.
I really don't. I mean, I've never understood why people try to go after the families and blame the families. I've always thought that was shit. And God help you out there if you do that kind of stuff, that
Yeah.
nothing ever happens to you or your family.
Yeah. And
Because
people
God
don't treat
forbid
you
something would happen to your own family member or children, and then you to have to live with that somebody would sit here and accuse you of it and make you live this nightmare from hell,
Yeah.
that not only are you waiting to get justice for somebody who killed your family members,
Yeah.
but that you're out there accusing them of it. I can't even imagine
And I'm
how you
sorry.
can live with yourself after
I
that.
I have subjected myself to some of that disgusting content, and I only did it obviously because if you're talking about this case and if you're talking about these families, I want to know what the hell you're saying because it immediately just gets my back up. And I'm an honest person, and if there was any kind of truth or anything to anything I had seen by these people, I would say so. And there's just absolutely nothing but speculation, no facts, no evidence, and it's just disgusting how people can do it um to the families. Like these are human beings at the end of the day. They're living with this every single day.
Right. This isn't, a show. This isn't
No.
for play. This is 2 little girls who died. And
You were
and
murdered.
and and you can't even imagine. Can't
Mm-mm.
even imagine having to deal with that. And this stuff, I think we're going to learn more when the the 18th, March 18th happens, because the contempt case, we may learn more of what the Indiana State Police found out and what they tracked and who it went to and who's going on. They may share more of who was all involved in all of that.
It was an ongoing leak of information. And another thing, like, I honestly, this is why you're doing this whole video in the first place, is you can't just base all of your opinions and thoughts about this case from the defense's Frank's memorandum. You just can't read that and say, okay, all of that is fact, and I'm not going to take anything else into consideration.
And Dave, you know what the other interesting thing is that if, you know, so Richard Allen says he was there, he knows he was on the bridge, right? He knows that what he was wearing, he knows what clothes and stuff. Well, even after he came forward, he saw that they kept showing the photo and then the video and all of that. So remember, at the very, very beginning, when they were just showing the photo, they said they just wanted to speak to that man.
Yep.
Because he may have seen something. So why didn't he come back and say, oh, wait a minute, that's me. That is me.
He participated in the killing of those two girls.
He didn't ever come forward and clarify that that's him on the bridge wearing those clothes.
And neither did anyone else.
I'm sitting here squinting because I didn't put my glasses back on here. Especially women, especially.
Oh, he's talking about how, you know, it's hard to believe that Kathy couldn't have identified her husband from the bridge guy video and audio. And I know, I understand that as well. It's hard to imagine, because you think about your partner, you know, who you've probably been with for many, many years. You know, in my opinion, I think I could identify, you know, my partner, how he stands, how he walks, how he dresses, you know, how he sounds when he talks overall. But we can't kind of point fingers in that direction either and say that, because you're not in the situation. So it's also very hard to think that about your spouse. You know, you're not going to look at that and think that could be him if you've got no likely reason to think he could do something like that or be involved or something like that. Or he did also come forward and make a witness statement to Dan Doolin, so that may have caused some peace in his wife's mind, like, yes, he was there, but that's not him, he didn't do anything, you know, he's spoken to the police, everything's good, you know. So we can't point the finger at his partner for that, as his wife.
Yeah, I've wondered about Baldwin admitting his stuff. I mean, he right away kind of admitted things, but you know what he didn't admit was the Woodhouse leak, and never went to them to tell him about it. And yet it's out there in the YouTube world, right? The Woodhouse thing. Woodhouse did his videos and talked about what was being sent to him, and he was going to have a lawsuit because of them involving him in it. You know?
Yeah.
The jury pool itself, it's just scary. It's just really scary. And I feel so bad for the families. Yeah. So bad. And you know what? Honestly, they've made the trial more about the defense attorneys. Yes. You know what I mean? Them going out there in front of, how many cases have we seen that? I mean, I can't, you know, it reminds me of the Casey Anthony case. And I mean, think about, you know, hell, even Keegan Kline talked about, he went to go look up the O.J. Simpson. Remember, he gave that as an example when he was being interviewed by the police. Oh, well, nobody's been, you know, talking to them the day they got murdered, talking to them online. Yes, they O.J. Simpson. What? OJ Simpson's your
Yeah, it was,
example?
they were talking about grooming, and he was like, yeah, OJ Simpson. It literally makes no sense, but it's just interesting why he was
Hey,
searching the
Faye.
was, because he
Faye's
was
out
also,
there.
oh, hi, Faye. How are you? But yeah, he was also searching John Benet's murder, which is interesting when you think about those two cases in particular. You know, John Benet's still unsolved at this moment, but the OJ Simpson one was a circus as well. You know, it's like this has created a circus, and is so disheartening because these families have to relive it every single day. And not only are they having to deal with what happened to, you know, the children in their family, they have to deal with what happened to them. They've got to deal with all of this crap day after day from the defense attorneys, from people online, all of this stuff. It's just way too much. And I can't imagine the strength that they have to literally carry on and keep fighting this.
Yep. And you know what? I'm surprised. I mean, Westerman, I think he thinks that he's just going to turn around and he's going to get a small slap on the hand, and that's why he admitted what he admitted. But
Mhm.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm surprised. I'm really surprised that he is taking that because, you know, it makes no sense to me, you know, that he's going to turn around. That he admits, Baldwin admits to giving him information about the strategy, right? And he admits to showing him the information about the so-called Franks hearing, which isn't a Franks hearing. It's mostly this is what we're going to tell everybody in the public, who did it instead of Richard Allen. And then that completely gets out. So that way they can leak it. I had no doubt. I remember saying it on videos back then. I didn't think it was a coincidence that the crime scene photo was leaked at the same time their stupid description was coming out. And then you have, sorry, that's my dog.
See,
Always barks while I'm on.
the dog agrees with you. He
I
always
guess.
interrupts. He knows. He loves true crime.
Yes, we did read that. I think that, you know, here's the thing. When you find out the dirty tricks that they're doing, how can you trust the defense to work with them?
No, and then how can you trust what they're saying in that document as fact? Especially when, you know, we've gone through certain things and made videos, like, you know, how they described, you know, Libby wearing jeans instead of sweatpants, that kind of thing. If we are to believe that's not true, then how can we believe the whole thing is true? Yes, there might be facts to some of the things they say about the crime scene, everything like that. However, is it all true, or has it been altered to fit their narrative, just like the crime scene photos that were stolen and leaked?
I really think that, I mean, no matter what, either way, the defense has made it that no matter what, Richard Allen is able to file for an appeal, right? And anybody can,
She
right? No
said,
matter what, no matter what.
they
But
did.
they made it that he can say it's because he lost his attorneys or because he kept his attorneys and his attorneys leaked this shit and affected his case, right? No matter
Mhm.
what, they've made it that he can go turn around and find an appeal. They, you know, all of this stuff going, you know, going in and stuff in about it. But when you have this misconduct by the defense team, defend your client, do what you need to do. But when you lie to the court and you lie to a judge and you say you're not going to do something and then you do it, and you keep releasing shit to the public and you want to do it, I mean, this just keeps going.
I
And
see it again,
and
ongoing leak of information.
and here's the thing. There, God, I mean, here, I'm not a big channel. I don't have tons of people coming over here because I don't do clickbait shit, right? I'm just
Yeah.
going to cover what's going on, what's in there. I'm going to bring you news stories that come forward. As far as Delphi, hell, I bring in, maybe family members who come in and talk about their case or something or somebody missing or whatever. I'm not this, whoop-de-doo, whatever channel here. Okay. I don't get this. I'm not monetized. So YouTube isn't worried about overly promoting me on the analytics. I'm not monetized for many, many reasons. Not that I don't like money. I love money. And, hell, that would help me buy a bottle of fucking insulin, but I'm just saying. Anyway, but guess what? I'm not going to not tell you that somebody has been murdered and say unalive. I'm not going to tell you that somebody wasn't sexually assaulted. I'm not going to tell you that there was not child sexual abuse material. I'm not going to sugarcoat it because this is true crime and we should be telling you. And I think it's disrespectful to the families to say somebody was unalive when they were murdered.
You've got to remember that true crime is always true for someone. Like, it's not just entertainment for you sitting there listening to a podcast or a YouTube video. It's not entertainment. And if you're not here to kind of help and spread the word and support, then there's really no need, in my opinion, for you to be talking about true crime in general.
Yeah.
It should always be done with respect or not at all.
Hey, Jamie Hicks. I have been watching a lot of your videos.
She has. We have.
I've been telling them, you got to go watch this one. You got to go watch this one.
Yes.
I really have. I've been over here bitching, Jamie, about people listening to the truth. And that's what we just went through, is watching what the true information is, the true facts are, not to just believe. If somebody tells you something, for God's sakes, make them show you where they heard it from.
Yes. And is it okay for you to believe something that someone may have shared with you that they might know but have no evidence for? Absolutely. But is it okay for you to spread that information to others online and say it's fact and deter people away from actual facts? And if it could be hurtful in any way, then absolutely not. Keep it to yourself.
And again, like I said, you can't say that somebody is innocent if you haven't seen the evidence that the prosecution has. You just can't.
No. And that's just another thing I will not understand about some people in the community, unfortunately. But yeah, that's why you do these videos.
Absolutely.
So
and I can't, we had to do it. We had to do it to say, if the police moved on from somebody from 2017 and their house wasn't searched, or even if it was searched and then they didn't find any evidence whatsoever that showed that they were involved, then that means the police moved on. They moved on.
Yeah.
That we've had a lot of people, like I showed, over 20,000 tips. They had to divide the stuff between federal, state, Carroll County police. They went through tons and tons and tons of them.
Yeah.
Why don't you want to believe the man who says he was there during the time of the murders? Why don't you want to believe the man who saw the witnesses who saw him, and he confirms he saw them at the times while the murders were happening? Why don't you want to believe that he says he was on the bridge and a witness saw him on the bridge? Why don't you want to believe he was parked where a vehicle was backed in and parked, where an employee who worked across from there saw the vehicle there, and that they were inquiring about that car?
And he is unaccounted for from the time that Liberty took the Video of Bridge Guy up until the time he's spotted by another witness walking down the road, muddy and bloody. He's unaccounted for. No one sees him. He can't explain. There's no explanation for that. Where is
And
the
he has no alibi because he was there. And oh, and you know what? Wait a minute. Let's not forget the obvious. He confessed to his wife and his mother
several times?
Now, I'm not saying you have to completely believe forever,
No.
absolutely he's 100% guilty. Okay, I'm not.
Are we
You can sit there and have doubt, but you can't say he's innocent. You can't say he's innocent. You don't know all the facts yet.
No. Like, is it obviously innocent until proven guilty? Absolutely. But you've got to look at what we have up until this very point so far. And you can't say that from what we have, he is 100% innocent. It's not logical to say that.
Yeah.
It's not logical to say that.
I mean, it's, and like I said, it is so upsetting because there's like a couple of the ones that we've seen. Like I said, I am shocked as hell are out there spreading the stuff. I really am. Because there's like one that I watched for like a totally different case. Sorry, that's one of my dogs. A total different case that I'm like, oh my God. I mean, and it's like, I can't believe that they're sharing it because that wasn't being shared at the beginning and that wasn't part of it. And I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't get it.
I also don't get why anyone just tries to say that, they've got more information than others or they 100% know who the killer is. It's just like, honestly, anyone at this point, like, unless you've got some hard evidence, nobody knows exactly everyone involved here. And, we do know there are more than one players involved in this, as they say. But do I believe that Richard Allen is Bridge Guy? In my opinion, 100%. From the timeline, the witness statements, there is absolutely no way that another man appeared at the very same time that he was there and that Libby encountered that man and took a video. Where did this other guy come from that nobody saw?
Well, right. He would have saw him if he wasn't him.
Where did Richard Allen go as well? Like, it makes no sense.
There was nobody else there. Sarah didn't see anybody else. That was the only adult. She's walking away while he's on the bridge thing. And you see, and she sees Abby and Libby walking towards the damn bridge.
Literally. And when she leaves, it's time stamped. So they also know that is accurate as to when Libby took that video and pictures on her phone of Abby. And the question is, if Bridge Guy, Richard Allen, was at that bridge before the girls ever got to it, where the hell did he go when they started to walk across it? Because Abby is obviously pictured by Libby at 2:07 on the bridge. He's not behind her then. So where did he go in those couple of minutes? And then he came back.
Well, here's the thing, honestly, because of, people don't realize, like, the bridge itself is so freaking long. Yes. So long. So, like, forever long, right? When you see it above from the sky, it's how you can appreciate how long it is.
It's long, it's high up.
So if he's still standing on the side platform when the girls get there, even, and I'm not saying I one way or the other. I'm not saying where he is at that moment, but let's say he is, just hypothetically. Even if he's standing on that platform and they walk past him, you're not going to see him because of where that picture and how the picture's taken anyway.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You're not going to see that. You can't see how far she is across yet. you know, that
I
picture
mean,
doesn't give you a good sense of how far she is and where he is. You know what I
it
mean?
does appear that Libby would have been standing on the second platform to take that image, but it does depend. Like, I'm not from the area, so I 100% wouldn't know that, you know, for a fact. And it does depend on if you know the area, if you've been there, if you've stood on that bridge yourself, it'd make more sense to you of how this could have taken place. You
Right.
know, it is speculation and rumors, and theories, because we don't know. But from the information we've read today, we do know that in that video taken by Libby, Bridge Guy is following along behind Abigail. So we don't see him behind her when the picture of her is taken, but a couple of minutes later, he is videoed following her on that bridge.
Right. And
So
Dave,
that's a
yes, Faye is right. Not only did the confessions happen, which, by the way, remember, the defense team wanted that thrown out as well. They don't want those letters or anything to be evidence.
Mm-mm.
And remember, the phone calls are taped. So he didn't just one time confess to his mom. He didn't just one time confess to his wife. He didn't just one time confess to that. He 5 to 6 times confessed.
Yeah.
He did write to the warden that he confessed as well, which may have been when he was trying to just get a quick trial, right? Remember, his defense team was trying to accuse the judge and filed with the Indiana Supreme Court that he wasn't getting a quick trial when they never filed for him to have a quick trial. He
Mm-hmm.
gave them the paperwork for a quick trial. They held on for it for 2 months and they never did it. And when you confess to your wife and your mother, probably wouldn't you say those are like the last people you would ever tell in your life that maybe you did something horrific like that?
And if you're going to be threatened by Odinist guards to confess that you murdered them, would they not make you do it to actual investigators and law enforcement officials and not on a recorded phone call to your family? And if you were being threatened to do it with your family, would you not say that you were being threatened to do this? Like, it's
Yep.
just confusing to me. Absolutely confusing.
Yeah, it's not a bridge I would cross. I'm just
I
saying.
mean, it's literally like one of the things I really want to be able to do, but I'm in the UK, so that's very unlikely, hopefully one day. But I'm someone who does, I feel like, to fully understand something like this in true crime, you kind of do have to go to the scene of where it take place to try and take it all in and understand the area. And it could probably answer a lot of questions that people theorize on about how things took place that day. You know, going to the scene, walking it yourself, you would maybe understand a lot more, I think.
Yeah. And I think that we, you know, we just are trying to make sure that everybody gets to rehear the facts that are given based on law enforcement, the prosecution, FBI, Indiana State Police. FBI has been involved. You know, early on, some of the head of the FBI of the office I was not overly thrilled about because of the Olympics case and all that kind of thing. But the FBI had tons of different agents who were there and they helped collect the evidence. That is actually in the actual different news stories that were going on when they went to collect different evidence at the time.
Yeah.
The crime scene sit here and they, you know, they want to, everybody wants to keep talking about all kinds of different stuff. It's like, they just make up whatever. And everybody's like, oh, well, this didn't happen and this didn't happen. Well, let me tell you, you need to look at if your person you're listening to has a bias for a reason.
Yeah.
As a bias for a reason. And I don't want to say if they make money, that's their bias, because there are channels out there, they're good channels and they are monetized channels, and they have that. But if there's a narrative that somebody has to follow and they have to make you follow it in order for them to make
To
a
accept you as well.
deal, a
Yeah.
book deal, come on. Come on.
Yeah. And it's the same kind of people, you know, that if you don't agree with them, you know, they get very defensive and kind of don't want you around. Like, that is not the type of content you should be consuming. It should be people you're able to have discussions with and share your opinion. And if you've got a question, you should be able to ask it and, you know, not be treated a certain way for not having the same opinion, because even we don't have the same opinion all the time. Absolutely not. And we share ideas with each other, and JSD tells me many times, you know, things that maybe I even think, and then she will tell me something, you know, remember when this happened or this, and I'll realize that that's actually not true, you know. It's just really
Well,
important to talk
I
about.
think a lot of times too, we sit here and we find out something, and then we also try to like run it by and be like, okay, what could this mean?
Yeah.
What would be the reasons if this happened or this happened? What could be the, what, all the time. We're like, well, wait a minute, what about this or what about this? And then I mean, and we're very big on, well, like, well, and trust me, I'll tell Paige, it's like, okay, if I remember correctly, I think this happened and maybe it was at this time, or this happened on this day or whatever. Like,
But we will
let
research
let me
that.
give you examples. We were talking the other day and we were talking about, and if you're new to the case, then you don't know. But I mean, we had searches of the Indiana Packers plant that was in Delphi. And the
Yes.
reason that happened was also because there was a bomb threat that was done on, I believe it's February 22nd.
There's actually more than one time that happened as well
Right.
in the short
And because
period of time.
they had multiple bomb threats that were called into that. And
Yeah.
and when they had that, they had somebody that they had arrested too for doing the bomb threat. But
Yeah.
when that all happened, the big thing that was coming out, well, they took boots. Remember? Oh, they
Mm.
took boots from the Packers plant, and
And
they're checking if it's boots from the Packers plant.
it was very close after the murders happened. So, you know, there was a lot of people saying that that was linked to it. And that's why the boots were taken. But like you mentioned earlier, JSD, when you were talking about boot prints, it's very likely that boot prints, shoe prints, some
Absolutely.
sort of thing was found at that crime scene, and that's why shoes are important as
And
well.
a lot of people also think, well, Richard Allen, they want to say that proof that he's innocent is that he didn't get rid of his car. Of course, he's not going to get rid of his car. They sat there and they told you if you saw somebody act unusual. I mean, that's like the first sign
Yeah,
that you did something. You're not
I'm
going to
glad
go rush and get rid of. That's going to make you suspicious if you
I'm
run
really
out.
glad that you pointed that out as well. Yeah, because that is a lot of people do say that, you know, he didn't change his appearance, he didn't move, he didn't do anything unusual. And you're correct. They literally told everybody to look out for someone who did any of those things.
Right.
So why would he?
Exactly. Exactly.
He wanted to
And
appear
and
normal.
and honestly, and then we also talked about, as we went through that evidence we were showing that they took, and I talked about the boxes that were checked. And the last page of that evidence that we talked about were about the vehicle. And the vehicle information that they showed was done not at the house. They took the car from the house, but was done from the lab, the Indiana State Police lab, and it showed the address, which we showed. And it talked about that, well, they did the swab on the seatbelts, and they did the swab on the passenger side floor, right?
Mhm.
So we can assume that they could have done that because there could have been spots. We all know about luminol, right? They take
Yeah.
that in the lab, they could spray with luminol and they could see if there's something. So you know how that goes. Maybe there's a dot or something on the seat belt, or maybe there's a dot or something they see on, the floorboard on the passenger side.
Yeah,
But
'cause
that they cut out the full carpet
Mhm.
square in the back tire well of that car, and that particular piece was check marked for lab,
Mhm.
could be that they could have luminol that,
Yep.
and then they went to send that off for testing for DNA.
Yeah, and we did have a conversation the other day about like DNA and fibers and everything, and I'm no expert by any means, but just like the thought of how your carpet is in your car, like it's very tightly woven, kind of material. It just makes me think that DNA would definitely, any type of blood or liquid, that kind of stuff, no matter if you did clean that, it definitely would not all come out. I feel like if anyone does know more about that, please comment because I'd love to actually know more. But yeah, for some reason, like I think that that could definitely show a lot. And the fact that it's check marked in that document too, like you just said, what did they see something while they did that? To
Right.
take that area.
Right.
Yeah,
Because here's my thing. If it was a spot, then why didn't they do the swab like
yeah,
they did with the seatbelt and that
yeah.
they did on the floorboard of the passenger side?
Yeah, because you got to look as well where particular parts of evidence were collected from that vehicle is very specific. It's not as if they've taken several swabs from areas or several cuts of carpet, or they didn't take the entire seatbelt. Like they took specific swabs from certain areas. They took specific parts of the carpet, etc. So it's just like, well, did they actually look and find things in those areas? And that's why they then took that evidence. So it does kind of say, if that is true, that there could be a lot of evidence in that vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Less damaging area under the spare to take a
Interesting.
carpet sample. And you know what? Honestly, Dave, think about that. You're not going to pull up the tire well and clean. You're not going to clean up underneath that.
Yeah, that's true.
You would clean the what you see when you open the trunk, but you're not going to make sure and clean perfectly that other. And even if you do, we all know how that is. We've any follower of true crime, we know when they go in and spray with luminol, if you have, there's no way to
Lights
clean
up
every
like a
little
Christmas
drop of
tree.
everything out.
Yeah.
And if they have DNA, then what are all the naysayers going to say then? Think about that. We don't know what the prosecutor had. Again, everybody says he's innocent,
I
and
know
he
what they're
is
gonna
innocent
say.
until proven guilty. But if they come back and they have a boot print that matched what they took from one of his boots, if they turn around and they have DNA in his tire well or from his vehicle, and the bullet matches, then what?
Then they'll say it was planted evidence. Mark my words.
Yeah. You know what? I think the fiber sample too, I've kind of also thought about the possibility of this. So I'll give this scenario. This is totally my own, what's the word? Speculation. There we go. Speculation. But here's my speculation of possible fiber too. So when the other witnesses saw Richard Allen, aka Bridge Guy, going, he had a scarf that was covering his face. So if he's over there, he walks across and he's fighting with those girls, he doesn't have that scarf still on him. They could pull on that. He could pull on that. You don't know what could have happened or he used the scarf for. But a scarf has very much easily where fabric can fall off the scarf, where you can have a fiber come off of a scarf.
Mm-hmm. Even
And
a hat.
if you have it runs off of your, comes off of your neck. It's rubbing on you. It can have DNA and stuff on there as well.
Yeah, and moisture, sweating, that kind of thing.
So you could even have, there could be something from a scarf that he was wearing. Because remember, when we have the witness seeing him walking down 300 North, heading west to go towards the car near the PCA building, she talks about that he looks like he was in a fight. So she can see his face.
He doesn't mention a face covering.
And it does, so he's not covering his face anymore. He doesn't have a scarf on him.
Mm-hmm.
Carpets. Yeah. They would have had that. Yep. I think it was more to keep him hidden. I just think there's no way, he saw himself still in that photo and he never went and said, by the way, hey, that's me. I was on there before he even knew that it was taken by Libby, right? He didn't know where it was taken from. He didn't know where it came from. They just said they wanted to talk to him. He never clarifies and cleans that up.
Yeah. And also,
and by the way, most of the time when defense team argues of a confession, they're usually arguing about a confession because somebody is locked in a room with the police officers for 24 hours straight, not given the leave, not being able to eat or rest, and then they confess and it's a false confession. This isn't a false confession like that.
That's not that scenario, no. And I just wanted to mention as well about when you were talking about like fibers and things like that.
Yep.
It's interesting to note that also in the beginning with the Ron Logan PCA, it does state that investigators at the crime scene took unknown fibers and unidentified hairs. So fibers definitely were found at the crime scene, but what kind is what we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, Faye, I don't know what they're going to say with DNA. I mean, I'm sure they're going to still deny it. But I really feel bad that there's people not letting the case, share the information, share the facts of what we have. You know what I mean? But to do the work for the defense team when they're playing all the dirty tricks that they are doing, when they've done all that they've done, I think we'll learn more about the whole contempt thing. I don't think they want it to come out more of the contempt thing. I really feel like more of that stuff is still happening because right now they're trying to get it all out there.
And if that is their example of behavior throughout this case, what is to say they're going to behave any differently? And what else possibly was leaked and shared that we still don't know about right now that maybe has been found out since?
I feel like, here's what's going to happen at the end of the day. If Richard Allen is found guilty based on evidence that the prosecutor presents to the jury, which we'll eventually learn. We'll learn what they have. We'll learn what mistakes went on. But if he is found guilty, he will appeal no matter what. He's going to appeal. But the one thing is that he will only be granted an appeal if something was found to be unjust done. And, you know, they keep wanting to remove Judge Gull because she's not siding with them on motions that they file. And that is not reason to remove the judge. You know, the judge reprimanding you for all of the stuff that she finds out that you do is not a reason to make her leave. You know, they turn around and just like the Supreme Court said, that she could still turn around and do something and file this and, you know, it go against you and stuff from it. McLeland's not going to let that go. He sees everything that they did. They violated, they were literally worried. If you guys saw that when we covered that, they literally had filed a special protective order against the discovery of the crime scene stuff because they were worried that the defense team was going to do it, and they were right. They still did it.
And how many years have they protected that information? We've never known, you know, about the crime scene, about all of this stuff. They've worked to not have any of that come out to the public. They didn't want this case, you know, to have any of that in there because it would cause an issue with the trial. They need to know information that only the killers would know, people involved. And if the public know that information, how are they going to do that?
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing is if what's scary is, and we've all seen this, there are some jurors who turn around and become jurors because they want to benefit financially from the case that they become a juror for, right? So the scary thing is that a jury member, when they're questioned, if they've ever heard anything about the case, we have to hope that they're honest about that. They don't watch YouTube, right? They don't pay attention to news reports. They haven't paid attention to what's going on with the case. You know, it's hard to, when it becomes an Indiana Supreme Court, for you not to know that crap is going on with Richard Allen. It kind of is a pretty big deal in the state of Indiana when it goes to the Indiana Supreme Court, for you not to notice that something is happening because of that.
mean, I'm from the UK and I know what's going on.
And then you've got to worry that you can have a jury member who lies and doesn't say that they're part of it and have heard something or is reflective of it. And they just want to get in there, because of that reason. That's kind of like why they said that, it's Odinism's white supremacy, right? They want to get, that's, a big thing. Oh my God, wow, white supremacists, Odinism, blah, 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 in Indiana that are.
They did it to shock the public, people kind of followed along with it. It was talked about everywhere. People believe it to be true without actually looking at all into it and seeing, okay, we don't actually have any definitive evidence for that yet.
Right, Faye, they haven't had time to defend Richard Allen because it's too much about them. I mean, I really feel like Baldwin was kind of a one-trick pony, and when he didn't get the evidence thrown out from the search warrant, like he did for his other murder case, that he got a triple murder off by finding an error that police made in a case, that then they're like, oh, well, what do we do? Well, what they do, they refiled every damn thing they filed already. We want Judge Gull removed. We want the evidence. We want the evidence thrown out. We want this, blah, 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 blah. Oh, well, now we're going to spread another rumor about something with the Odinism. And now we're going to throw out something else about the bullet. Now we're going to throw out something else about this. They have to keep it out there. They want it to keep going out there.
The murderer's interview was deleted by law enforcement. The real murderer. Like, it just keeps going on and on and on.
I mean, the good news about a appeal is that an appeal doesn't mean that they'll turn around. You're right. Doesn't mean they're going to find him innocent, but they find out, okay, did they follow everything that they were supposed to when they found you guilty? Was the evidence presented? Yes. Did the jurors all hear this? Yes. You know, it's no matter what, if everything was followed by the law, then the appellate court doesn't have to appeal your case. Now, can he sit here and say, well, my defense team was incompetent? Well, that's another thing right there. Yeah, think about that. If the other part about when they talk about like Richard Allen, Ron Logan, and we talked about the Ron Logan case. I showed at the very beginning of the video. If you didn't see it, they already talked about the first search warrant that they did on Ron Logan's house because of his probation violation, that they took the weapons from his house. They already found the weapons, his guns, in his home. So that's why the FBI mentioned about sharp objects and not, what's done with a knife.
Yeah.
And then what else, everybody? Electronics. Not only electronics because they say there could have been a photo taken, but electronics because they're checking, one, where people are based on their cell phones, and they're checking for CDL. By the way, let's mention that. We didn't even really hit that hard. How many goddamn phones did Richard Allen's household need? There was only 3 of them.
I also wanted to touch on how many knives he has, because we talked about this before. Like, we've got no knowledge if he was a hunter. And if you're someone who like collects knives or receives them as gifts, would you really have them hidden away in your garage all rusted and stuff? It's just bizarre. Like, why did he have so many knives?
Well, I think it's interesting because they did just specifically talk about what knives were in the garage versus what knives were found in the house.
Yes, they specifically state that they were found there, which is interesting. Yeah.
So, when you talk about that, exactly. Exactly. I mean, he just has a lot of phones, and he had a lot of, SD drives. I mean, his wife worked for a vet. He worked for Walmart, not as a high up manager. He was a low level. He was the area manager. And so he wasn't high up in there. He's not doing, documents and stuff like that he saves. They don't have to do that. They have an in-house computer that they use for management and stuff there. And he wasn't high up to even have to have any of that kind of stuff. He worked at CBS.
Yeah.
He wasn't even he didn't even try for a tech until after the murders happened. And so he didn't need all those SD drives for stuff like that. None of that made any sense. One marked specifically with his name, all of these freaking phones, tons of phones.
Yeah. It's just like, I've had a job in computers and technology more than once, and I've never had that much tech or hard drives or SD cards or anything in my home. Ever. Never needed all of that.
Yeah.
And there was nothing he was doing that we know of that he would need all of that for any reason. And it's possible that, could some of those been old ones that it's possible his family may have used, for certain things, and they've just kept in the property, maybe. But it's just very interesting, the vast amount of items. There's a large amount of tech, there's a large amount of weapons. Yeah, it's quite interesting when you actually read through.
Well, I think that, the other stuff is, and I know some people are claiming that they already know that the police didn't find anything, right? But we don't know whether they found CSAM on his phones, whether they found him communicating with people, what they found of him looking at stuff online,
Yeah, what did he search
communicating
for?
to meet up. They have, we don't know what they all found. There's out there that there was nothing. They didn't find anything connecting him to Keegan Klein or whatever. You don't know that. I would think after frickin' almost 6 years, he would have at least got rid of that. But if he was a person who was into CSAM or wasn't to anything like that, he's going to continue that behavior. He thought he got away with it. He thought he went and said something and that it was over and that he didn't have to worry about it. I mean, he's literally sitting in front of a picture. By the way, who keeps a picture of a wanted person in your own kitchen? Does anybody else think that's odd? I mean, even for a case, you don't. I mean, you may have it on your device, or who puts that on your refrigerator in your home? That makes no sense to me.
And he's going to a bar where the picture is on the wall, and I've seen someone post a picture of that at his job at CVS. So that sketch of Bridge Guy was around him a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know, why you would have it. It just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever at all to keep that on your refrigerator. And, I think also they're going to keep that evidence that they have the phone conversation between him and his wife and him and his mother. Remember, after he sits there and tells her what's going on, then she sits here and she hangs up on him, abruptly ends the call, is the way they put it. And then what does he do? He breaks the damn iPod. Or I'm sorry, tablet, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever kind of device he's using.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, it's literally on our page. Let me show you. Peter. Hold on. Let me go back to.
Is that the picture?
I think that's exactly what picture I used. Hold on.
I think the picture you've got is the one where he's at a bar, JSD.
All right, let me pull the one. Let me see if I've got it here. There's one that he has on his refrigerator. Trying to see if I've got it in this. I will find that. Oh, I did use the one at the bar on this screen.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's the dog again. Peter, I will get that and I will pop that up. I'll probably pop it up in community post. That'll probably be the easiest. Which, by the way, if you don't watch, I usually do any updates and stuff on the case, by the way. Any filings, anything going on, I do post in community posts. So... is that the bar? Think you mistaken on the pillar bar. The one I have on the one screen that I popped up at the beginning is the one that is a bar one. That one is the one. Actually, his wife is technically in that photo. But the one that's the one that shows that she's taken out from it. Let me see. Right? Is that the one I used?
Yeah. You have the bar picture in your thumbnail.
Yep. So in the thumbnail itself, that one on that screen, that is at a bar. I'm almost positive that's the bar one, because I think his, like, where it's a little bit closed in more just on his face, but like if you backed out of that a little bit where the
His
white
wife is
square
on it.
is, that would be
Mhm.
where his wife would be in that photo. That, and
Yeah.
it's circled behind him of where that is. Why his wife is hanging up on her husband, a critical point in this case. I don't know. But you know what, Faye? If my husband sat here and came and told me whether he was having a mental breakdown or not, that he did something to two little girls, I think I'd wait to find out whether this shit was true or not. I don't know about everybody else.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, but anyway. Well, my God, we were on for a while.
Yeah.
A really long time, not as long as we expected to be, but we kind of wanted to address a little bit of the Ron Logan issue, to address about the guns. There were guns taken. We showed that at the beginning. So if you missed it, go back. We wanted to go back through what the statement said from the police of why they needed the each item they were looking for and what they had. Again, they're not overly going to reveal because they never let the public know about the bullet. That was kind of secret, that they had a bullet. We knew there was a gun, and that we only knew that because it was already out there kind of from the families themselves, that it was, they kind of had shared a little bit that there was a statement about one of the girls saying that there is that a gun in what they heard, because they got to hear the tape. They got to hear the whole full version of that clip that's taken, and we don't know what else is in there. There could be something totally else in there that we don't know about. The one thing we know that's not in there, at least we can feel pretty secure about, is that there's not at least a second person's voice in that 45-second tape.
Yeah.
Or they would be definitely saying that. Trying to sorry. I'm telling her husband. Right. He doesn't have another alibi, Faye. He doesn't have an alibi because he was there. Well, we appreciate everybody being here. Thank you. I know it is super late. It's 5 hours ahead for Paige. I'm surprised she's not snoring right now, because
No, I'm still here.
and but she wanted to do this. We wanted to present stuff to remind everybody what information they did say they have, what they had, what they were looking for, why they said that Richard Allen, what time they said Richard Allen was there, and what he said back to them as well. So
and just that it's important to obviously look at the facts, please.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we will keep posting info. God bless the families for going through everything that they're doing and going through. It breaks my heart when they're getting accused of stuff. It's so sad. And we don't want to affect this case, that it can't have justice found for it, So, one, we want to do a shout out to Mama Bear for her birthday,
Yeah.
which is today.
Happy
And
birthday, Mama Bear.
she got to join in late and stuff. And Paige just had her birthday
Yeah.
also. So yeah, so we had
We're
two birthdays
Aquarians.
going on. And so we're glad about that. And I'm glad, Miss Paige, you came up here with me and was able to go through all this stuff, and
Yeah,
appreciate that.
I always love to do it.
So
it's always a pleasure.
All right, ma'am. Well, we will catch
Thank
up with
you.
you, Miss Page.
Thank you very much for having me. Bye,
All
guys.
right. Bye. Again, thank you, everybody. This turned out to be a long one. We didn't mean for it to. We're just so frustrated right now with information that's out there. Please make sure, if you can, do a like on the video. That helps out. If you have questions about something or something went over, please just post a community post. We'll try to get answers and stuff for you, or whatever we need, we'll follow up and give links and things to you as well. So please make sure to do that. Oh, hi, Julianne as well. And Miss Faye, thank you for joining. Mama Bear, thank you for coming in after your celebrations and modding. Appreciate everybody. And we just want to make sure we do right by the family. This is not a game. This isn't, it's so sad. It's so sad. And unfortunately, a lot of times you see people do this stuff to people, and it's just horrible. I don't know. I don't. It breaks my heart, but I appreciate all of you. Please hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to me. I am not a monetized channel through YouTube because they take tons of money from it, and I don't want to have to do whatever it is you have to do for all that. I'm definitely going to use true crime terms. I'm not going to say somebody's unalive if they're murdered or sexually assaulted. I'm going to tell you what happened to people. And so they don't put me in the, thing to be picked up in the big audience of things and stuff like that, because I don't let YouTube take your money too. So they shouldn't. I just provide stories to help people and everything. And I appreciate you guys watching and, being here and supporting the channel and subscribing and liking and doing all that stuff for us. So thank you again. We will keep you up to date. Have a lot of stuff fixing to come down. It always happens all at once. And but we will have a bunch coming out here soon. And appreciate all of you. And thank you. Let's keep justice for Abby and Libby, especially as we celebrated their anniversary, 7 years. We need this done. It's about them. It's not about the defense team. It's not about other people. It's not about other people's theories. It's about the truth. It's about the facts. And it's about making sure that justice is served daily. Thank you, everybody. Good night.